that. So appreciate you guys getting everybody the path, right, to get to work, get wherever they need to today. So yesterday, before the show started, we were actually talking to Dusty about this, and he's like, hey, what potential options are there for trades for the Chiefs? And we were having conversations. We kept floating out a couple of names, and I'm curious where you guys are at on this as well. We'll take your text, 913-586-7965. But for me, if you think the Chiefs just don't have the draft capital already to go and get, let's say it's a left tackle, or use draft capital to go in the draft and get the left tackle, or actually go and trade for a left tackle. You're like, well, how do you get more capital? We know a couple years ago when they needed a big pivot, they got multiple first-round picks when they traded Tyreek Hill, and that led to Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie, two of the big pieces of this defense, two guys that will eventually get contract extensions. I think McDuffie will get it in Kansas City. I'm not 100% sure Karlaftis will get that extension in Kansas City or not. Is there even that type of move to be had? The three names that we kept circling back to, and I only think there's one that would give you value and I would be willing to even discuss. There's one that to me is off limits, and there's another that I don't think you'd get anything for. The three names when we were talking with Dusty, and Drew was there as well, was Chris Jones, Trent McDuffie, and Rashee Rice. And you guys can tell me if you think there's another name. I don't think Rashee Rice is giving you any value, number one. I should say any value. Value enough to trade him.
Sure.
Because of the injury and a looming suspension. I also wouldn't trade him because he's not making any money. He's on a rookie contract. I have a couple more years of control at a premium position. So that's the first reason why.
And he's also very good.
And he's also a hell of a football player. Now, to have trade value, you got to be a hell of a football player. The other one, Trent McDuffie, is just a non-starter for me. And I think that's where we differed in the bullpen a little bit. I would absolutely have no interest in doing that. As we look at the difference in cornerback value that the Chiefs have had, and we know they haven't given out these long-term deals to corners, Trent McDuffie's different. He's just different from me. He falls in a completely different category. He is better than any of the other corners they have chosen not to give extensions to, and certainly would be better than any of the corners that they traded. Time out L'Jarius Sneed, especially now that we know, and they knew at the time, the injury history when they traded L'Jarius Sneed. So then you get to Chris Jones, fan favorite, future Hall of Famer, all kinds of records when his career is over in Kansas City in terms of franchise records and everything like that. I wouldn't do it, but he's the only one I could sit down. You know what? I'll listen and have a real conversation about. The problem with this is, who the heck is getting after the quarterback next year? So you have to then admit that you're taking a decent-sized step back if that's the case. Because while I think they need to devote more resources into the offense, your defense can't just be suddenly 24th or 25th and think that you're going to where you need to go. We saw how that worked for many years early on, the first year or two in particular, for Patrick Mahomes. Now, Chris Jones, he turns 31 in July. He has a $34.5 million cap hit next year. And then when he's 32, the cap hit is $41 million. And then as we knew when he signed the extension, at age 33 and 34, he probably doesn't see those years because there's a potential out in 2027 with $12 million in dead cap. Otherwise, the final 2 years of the deal are $34 million cap hit, and at age 34 would be a $41 million cap hit. He's never that number is never happening, whether he plays great or not. At age 34, he's not having a $41 million cap hit in Kansas City. Just not happening. Because of the financials, because of his age, he's the only one of the bunch that would get you something and I would listen to. But I just don't think any of those three guys are getting moved. Are we missing somebody else? I don't believe they can pull off trade a veteran or a star, get a bunch of draft capital trade this offseason.
In terms of what, though? Like, I don't like what would be the end goal of you doing that trade? Like, what would be the point of trading Chris Jones to move up and get a tackle? Or, what exactly is the end goal there? Because if you get, I don't know, let's say you get a second-round pick for Chris Jones. Are you using that to coupled with other picks to move up?
That was the thing we were debating with Dusty before the show yesterday.
Yeah,
it was like, what are you acquiring? You're not trading Chris Jones for a starting left tackle.
Yeah.
Like, and again, this is not the NBA. So, like, in the NFL, rarely can you honestly think of a legit, not like random
player trade.
That's not the NBA.
No.
There's no you don't trade a starting future Hall of Fame defensive lineman and get a starting left tackle that's under the age of 28. Like that,
and
that doesn't exist.
And you wouldn't, if you traded let's say they trade Chris Jones, they get a second-round pick. You trade your first, your second, and maybe you send another first to move all the way up into the top 10 and get your left tackle. If it doesn't hit, you essentially committed dynasty suicide in a way because you lose your Hall of Fame defensive lineman who is almost irreplaceable. You failed on the left tackle again. You didn't get a first-round pick, a second-round pick, and your first next year is gone. You'd almost just destroy the dynasty with that trade single-handedly if that was the goal. So if you do make that move, or if you would make that move,
yeah,
it would have to me, I don't think they would do it because this year there isn't like a Joe Alt, where if they knew, hey, Joe Alt is in this draft and we can go get him, it's going to take trading Chris Jones, but we feel like we can get him and have that stabilized protection for Patrick Mahomes' backside for the very long term, if not the rest of his career as the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you kind of deal with things as you go from there regarding the defensive line, and maybe, hey, you use some money to bring in somebody else, even though they likely aren't going to replace all of what Chris Jones does. But I feel like he's the only guy, Chris Jones, that would get. I mean, maybe Trent. I don't know what you could get for Trent McDuffie. I mean, are you getting a first for Trent McDuffie?
He just is a non-starter for me. Yeah, you would. Get,
I don't think you would
most,
trade him either.
You would get the most for him, yes, because he's a two-time All-Pro, top 3 corner in football, and he's under the age of 26. So yes, he would bring the most value. I'm out on that. I'm really out on all 3, but I was like, okay, I can at least understand a little bit because of the finances and the age on Chris Jones. But it's not as it's also not. Do you want to create another massive hole on your roster? You know, if you trade at a lesser position, then you can say, all right, that's easier to mask. If all of a sudden you lose Chris Jones and Charles Manehew's a free agent and Turk Gordon's a free agent, on your staff you would have George Karlaftis and Felix and Mike Dana. And so if I'm trading that player...
Significant downgrade.
If I'm trading that player and then having to then use massive assets to go find the next great edge rusher or defensive lineman, what do we... no, so I just don't think it makes a whole lot of sense, even though we all know... I think it's the reason why these scenarios are coming up is everybody knows they feel desperate to go get a left tackle because everybody's fed up with not having one for the last 5 years. Even though they've won rings, we all recognize that they need to have a stable left tackle, not this one and done type of stuff and stop gaps and plug and play kind of stuff. No, they need to find a guy that can be their left tackle long term. And I think they have, as I said, while it hasn't worked, I think it's incorrect to say they haven't recognized that and tried. I mean, they thought they had that in Kingsley last year. Clearly, that's not the case. But they spent not a top 32 pick. But a top 70 pick? You can say, well, that's not good enough. Okay, that's fair. We've talked about the scenarios and how good is the draft class. Can you trade up? But it's not like they've only spent like 5th-round picks on tackles and thought they were going to get it. They spent a top, not just a top 100, but a top 70 pick on a tackle last year, and we all saw how that went.
Well, yeah, and you don't want to be in the situation where you become like the Thanos meme where you got your left tackle, what did it cost? Chris Jones and basically the entire defensive line. Yeah, you don't want to. I don't think you want to jump into that pool because even if you do get the left tackle, your defense is automatically not as good, and you find yourself in a limbo again of trying to make up for lost talent, and you're hoping at the same time that left tackle is actually going to pan out to be the player that you want.
I would say, Drew, the number one text I've seen in the last 4 minutes that we keep getting, 913-586-7965.
Not a player that we mentioned.
Has been. Why can't, I mean, there must be multiple now. Tag and trade Trey Smith. What if we tagged and traded Trey Smith? Why can't they tag? So let's talk about that for a second. So I was looking up just what's the projected number for a franchise tag. Depends on the ultimate, I don't know if the numbers are out there yet, but there's some estimations on franchise tag numbers and by position, what you're looking at. So you start there and you say, okay, so that, remember, if you franchise tag somebody, and for the record, I don't believe they're going to do that. It's not going to be $26 million or something crazy. It's like we're talking about a guard here. But that number has to be on your cap, and you have to be under it by the league year. Remember, as long as he's tagged, that's a number that's on there, and you carry that until he gets moved. So that's for starters why they possibly wouldn't do it. The other thing is, in trade, what do you think you're getting for him? It's a non-premium position. That's the argument why I wouldn't pay him as well. He's a great football player. He plays guard. He's going to get maybe let's say what is a 4-year deal for $110 million, $105 million is some of the projections that are out there. So that's the contract.
And the Chiefs have no leverage because he would be a free agent. So
yeah, so
you wouldn't get much.
You tag him, okay. You're not getting like a second-round pick for him. If that's the team would have to give up draft capital and give him the largest contract in guard history in the NFL for a guard in the NFL. That I don't think you're getting that. The reason why you don't do is you're not getting the value that you believe. I don't know exactly what it is. Maybe you can get maybe I'm way off. Maybe you get a third for him or a fourth. Honestly, I don't know. I know you're not getting a first-round pick. I know you're not getting a second-round pick for him because they also have to pay him. So that's my personal belief for those asking, why can't they just tag and trade him? I think we'd all be very surprised. As we learned last year with the L'Jarius Sneed trade as well, different player, but my point is players never go for as much in the trade market as we think. They never bring back as much as we think they should. It just doesn't.
Especially in the NFL.
Unless you're talking about trading a under 30-year-old franchise starting quarterback, you're very rarely are you getting what you think you can get. We all at the time thought it was crazy that L'Jarius Sneed only went for whatever he went for, and then now he of course barely played, and now everybody's happy because the Chiefs have
that you got a third round
basically
pick
the first pick in the third round. First pick in the third round. So that would be my reason why I don't believe that's the case. So we'll get back to this. I promise. We'll get back to this a little bit later on. We'll talk to Danan Hughes about it as well. 913-586-7965. Just getting started. The other thing that has been out there a ton, a lot of people are acting like Mahomes, for some reason, is now going to have to wait 10 years to get another ring. I don't know how long he's going to have to wait. And yes, is it possible that he never wins one? Sure. Would I bet that he never gets one again? Absolutely not. Just because one terrible performance, we don't need to lose our dang minds and act like suddenly he's not the best quarterback in the league. Suddenly this still wasn't a team that won 15 games. So I don't get the national sentiment that's out there when it comes to ring chasing and things like that, as if, well, Brady had to wait 10 years, so Mahomes is going to have to do that as well, and then you're banking on Mahomes doing a bunch after 40. Who says that has to happen? I don't know if Mahomes is ever going to win another one. I don't know if he's going to win any past the age of 40, but he's got 10 years to try. Why are we acting like he can't? And I bring this up because I'll play along for a second. And here's why I think it's really challenging to think that he is not going to get back to another Super Bowl in the next 10 years and, in my opinion, win at least one more in the next 10 years. The thought is, when you do this exercise, and I tell you, Drew, play along, and let's take Mahomes' name out of this as well. And I think Andy Reid is coaching at least through 2029 when his contract exists. So I'm going to at least say, for the sake of the conversation, Andy Reid is at least here through the 2029 season. So you take Mahomes' name out of it, and I have a 10-year gap for those that think he's not going to have a chance to win one for 10 years. How are you dividing up the next 10 years on who's winning rings? Somebody's winning rings. How are you dividing that? He's still playing in the AFC. We're just saying he cannot win one in this scenario. It doesn't mean he can't go to a Super Bowl. People are telling me he's got to wait 10 years. So he can't win a Super Bowl. It doesn't mean he's not blocking the AFC still. Mm-hmm. So do you have a bunch of NFC quarterbacks? How do you divvy out the next 10 years if Mahomes is not part of that equation and actually winning the rings? Because I tried to do it. Not only is it tough because you're guessing a little bit, but I was like, I don't buy. I struggled to get to the number 10. Like, who do I think who's still going to have to deal with Mahomes in the AFC? He just can't win it, but you still got to deal with him. Either he blocks you from getting to the big dance, or you still are having to deal with him in wild card divisional round games. Oh, and then there's the NFC guys. So I tried to go through the next 10 years.
Okay.
All right? And here's what I came up with if we're not allowed to pick Mahomes. I have Jalen Hurts winning another one, giving him a total of 2. I have Jaden Daniels winning 1, giving him 1. I have Josh Allen winning 2 because, hey, if Mahomes is not going to win one, then maybe the odds go up. You're telling me that Mahomes can't win one for a decade, so maybe the odds go up for Josh Allen. I have him winning 2. Jordan Love with 1. Caleb Williams with 1. Lamar gets 1. Brock Purdy gets 1. And then, oh, yeah, I forgot to mention in college player counts, as in the guy doesn't exist yet because we're talking about a decade. I have whoever that college player is. I don't know. It could be Sanders, could be Arch Manning, could be a guy we don't even know who the hell he is. 2 of them for that guy. That's how I got to 10.
So you didn't pick Lamar Jackson or Joe Burrow?
I picked Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
I picked Josh Allen for 2. My point is, the next 10 years, I just find it very hard to believe Mahomes is not getting another one. Because look how difficult it is to get to 10. To think of 10 over the next 10 years, who else is getting them? How did you come up with it?
Well, in fairness, so I think obviously
besides Burrow winning 5 in your mind.
No, I don't think he'd win 5. Look, if they won 1, then that'd be good enough for me. I could die afterwards and I'd be happy. I don't know if I feel like Lamar Jackson would get at least 1. He might get 2. Josh Allen's tricky for me because he's never beaten Joe Burrow. He's never beaten Patrick. He's never beaten Joe Burrow, period, in his career. He's never beaten Mahomes in the playoffs. So I feel like that's a little bit tough. I think Lamar would get at least 1. He might get 2. The Caleb Williams one is interesting to me because I think that tells me that I know that you're obviously a big believer in Ben Johnson and everything like that. Does the NFC all of a sudden become like the AFC in this scenario where the AFC they'll beat each other up a little bit still because it's it would still be Lamar, Burrow, and Josh Allen, and who's to say C.J. Stroud can't continue to develop.
But Mahomes is still there. I was just told he can't win for a decade. So he's still there. He's still in the postseason. He can still block you. He just can't win one for a decade.
I do feel like if Mahomes is still there, then Josh Allen, it gets trickier for Josh Allen to get it done as far as I'm concerned, and Lamar Jackson. And the NFC conversation is interesting, though, because I think Jaden Daniels would be in there. He would at least make 1 or 2. It is really hard when you think about, okay, the next 10. I think it's because we're so used to Mahomes being there. It's hard for us to really contemplate what it would be like if he didn't make 1. What would it actually look like? How can we picture Patrick Mahomes not being in another Super Bowl for 10 years?
Yeah, I can't.
I don't know if you can realistically even. Obviously, we have no idea what the future is, but even realistically, you have to say that Mahomes is going to be in one at least be in one in the next 10 years. None. I mean, he might win.
I would bet a very large sum of money. A very large sum of money that he is at least in the Super Bowl again in the next decade. Yes.
I don't know if there's a good comparison, but I don't know how stunning it would be if he wasn't in a Super Bowl in the next 10 years. I mean,
I would be shocked.
It would be really surprising. That either means Andy Reid retired earlier than we think, and the new coach just wasn't cutting it. Somehow the team didn't say they traded Chris Jones and the left tackle didn't work out, or they didn't pay McDuffie, or something had to have happened in there.
Well, I mean,
in that run, I feel like where if they didn't make a Super Bowl with the roster that they have and the coaching staff that they currently have, or it doesn't seem like Spags is going anywhere, something had to go wrong in there one way or another.
Yeah, I mean, this is now spread out for a decade, so majority of these 10 years Chris Jones won't be part of, no matter what, because I think you're 2 or 3 years max anyway, no matter no matter what happens. Yeah, the Andy Reid part is still the biggest shift in the entire thing. So what does happen whenever that day is, whether it's after 2029 or whatever, 4 years from now, 7 years from now, I don't know. That'll be the big pivot and the big question as Mahomes is entering, his 30-year-old season coming up this next season as well. So, look, I don't believe it. I was just like, hey, if everybody's going to keep saying he's going to not win one for another 10 years, I'm like, try to tell me right now and how difficult it is. Try to tell me over the next 10 years how you think it divides out.
It's hard for you to wrap your mind around the fact that Mahomes wouldn't make it. And I think it's easy to fill in the blank, I think, because you can say, well, one of Burrow, Allen, and Lamar Jackson is going to be in there still, I guess, if Mahomes can't make it. But do they win one? Do they not win one? Who would it be from the NFC? It is interesting. I don't think you mentioned Brock Purdy in there at all whatsoever.
I had Purdy with one. Yeah, so I did. Over the next 10 without Mahomes. Hurts had one. So how many NFC quarterbacks did I have? I had Hurts winning one, Jaden Daniels winning one. I guess they could move conferences, but they're probably not. Caleb Williams, Jordan Love. Yeah. And Purdy. I had 5. I think I had 5. Yeah. I guess college player times 2. I don't know what conference they're going to.
In all honesty, NFC seems like the move for a couple of teams in terms of quarterback need more than anybody else.
Right.
If Cam Ward gets in, who knows? Or Arch, as you said.
A player that doesn't exist.
You did not have Dak yet. Or I don't think you had Dak.
I do not think Dak Prescott's ever winning a Super Bowl, and it's not even his fault entirely.
Do you think
it's the Cowboys organization is an utter disaster. As long as he's in Dallas, he will never win one.
Is there anybody from the AFC that you think would make it? Like, I don't know if they win, but do you think C.J. Stroud would make one
in his career?
If he wasn't there? If Mahomes wasn't there for the next 10?
Later, so Stroud is younger than Mahomes, of course. So I think if it happens, it would happen a little bit later on.
It would be Stroud, though, in your mind.
Between who? Sorry.
If you were to say, like, other than Burrow, Jackson, and Allen, is there anybody else in the AFC that would make a run at potentially winning one? Or is it only C.J. Stroud?
Let's see where some of these young quarterbacks get drafted. Because now, as the quarterbacks that are in the league,
Yes.
Outside of that, if I can't pick Mahomes, Burrow, or Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, or Jackson, I mean, yeah, how would I not say
C.J. Stroud?
I mean, because I'm not saying Bo Nix. Yeah, he had a great,
no,
you know
no,
what I mean?
no,
I mean, who else am I picking? There's nobody else.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's nobody else that is in the league right now in the AFC. If I cannot pick Mahomes, Burrow, Lamar, or Allen, it would have to be Stroud. I mean, just look at the playoff field this year. If we're just going off of 1 year, the quarterbacks that I'm eliminating, it leaves Bo Nix,
Justin Herbert,
and C.J. Stroud. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I know Herbert hasn't won in the playoffs, so people will say it's crazy. But from a talent perspective, you would have to say Stroud or Herbert in this hypothetical that we're going through.
Yeah.
We'll get back to that maybe a little bit later as well. Late in the show yesterday, there was some news out there from Barstool. You guys probably know what I'm talking about now. A fight with Pat Mahomes Sr. and John Rocker is scheduled for April. This all stems from this video, I guess, that was out there from Bourbon Street in New Orleans where John Rocker was yelling in an altercation with Pat Mahomes Sr. and everything like this. I think if it hasn't already been shut down, and I looked before the show, and I don't think it has, if you're number 15, if you're the Sun, you have to say, hey, you can't. We got to shut this thing down. You're not fighting John Rocker on Barstool pay-per-view, rough and rowdy or whatever it is in April. Like you just shut that down. Yeah, that cannot happen. It absolutely has to be shut down. And I did text with somebody yesterday, believe it or not, about this. And they said they are working on it. They being
on shutting it down?
Yes. And I'll read you the exact quote. Let me pull it back up. Sorry. I'll read you the exact quote in a screenshot that I was sent from somebody's conversation. And essentially says, I'm working on it. Are you really going to fight and all this stuff? And the answer was no. And it's
a money
seems
grab.
like that is never going to happen. And it shouldn't, because that would be very embarrassing for all parties involved.
Yeah.
Very, very embarrassing. You have to shut that thing down. This is never happening in April. Would you actually have paid to watch, Drew?
I didn't pay to watch Tyson and whatever his name is, Paul. I'm not paying to watch Patrick Mahomes' dad fight.
Absolutely not.
Somebody who I didn't even know him until yesterday.
Well, that was funny. Yeah, the John Rocker. John Rocker.
No offense to John Rocker, but I didn't know who he was. So
he's a hothead. He's been a hothead his entire life. And there were tweets that were sent back and forth that looked like there clearly was some issue between the two, or whatever. But this fight's never happening from what I've been told. And I also would say there's no way, if you're Patrick Mahomes, not Senior, but Patrick Mahomes, the starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm not letting my dad do
Is that just what we're doing now whenever we have a beef? You know what? Let's go ahead and fight. You know, we're gonna have a fight, and we're going to grab some money, and it's going to be fine, you know? I don't like you.
I mean,
you
it's
kind
of sad. I mean, you mentioned Tyson. Like, that was obviously a money grab, but there's people around him that are also not saying no. I'm talking about Tyson in particular.
Yeah.
Like, that's where it gets to be ridiculous, where you're like, man, the type of career you had in like, go get your money, but there's people around you for your own health too that have to tell you, if you're Tyson and any of these former boxers that are trying to go back and fight when they're in their 50s or 60s.
Well, and it's almost like it's not even a legacy thing, I guess, because people still remember Mike Tyson for what he was, but you're fighting Jake Paul at like, what are you, like, all of a sudden you're going to be remembered by all of these people who are younger and never saw you fight. You're going to be remembered for a exhibition match that you lost because you're 50 whatever, 60, and you grab money instead. Like, you were chasing money, essentially, it feels like, instead of a legacy, quote unquote. It just comes off as a bad look for everybody.
People on the text line say they'll just fight John Rocker for him or whatever.
I'm sure people.
I think it's way more like John Rocker would just do the fight, because what does he have? He's so irrelevant. Like, you went to a name I had not said out loud in a very, very long time. In fairness, his last year playing in the big leagues, I think I was 12 or 13 years old. But I do know the name. I do, at the tail end of his career, remember him coming out of the bullpen. The dude was a roid rage John Rocker is what it was. But he probably needs the attention more than anybody in this entire scenario. But I will bet you quite a bit of money that fight never happens on April 19th.
Oh, yeah. From the 6-2. Believe it or not, Drew, people used to fight when they had a problem with each other. Oh, believe me, I know. I was not involved in fights. But, hey, high school and the commentary and meet at this time, 100%. I know about that stuff. But, it's the...
Who would win between... Mac was texting us. Drew versus Mac versus Rob. What are the odds? Who's getting to fight who here?
Do not bet on me. I'm just saying, do not bet on me. One, because the main reason is I've had a shoulder problem for the longest freaking time, and I dead serious.
That's why a shoulder problem?
No, dead serious. Went to go work out last night, and I'm doing push-ups. I used to be able to crank those suckers out. I cannot do more than 3 push-ups. My shoulder hurts.
All right.
I collapsed essentially. My right shoulder, which is my main arm. I think I threw it out like 2 or 3 years ago. Like, it's been an ongoing problem. I haven't had it looked at. It's my problem.
All right.
But
so you're just saying medically you're not able to fight.
Do not look.
What about Mac versus Drew?
I'm not saying I'm going to run
versus
from
Rob. How's Mac versus Rob? Rob's got the length, got the reach.
Yes,
that's the problem for you, Mac.
I think Bink would like Rob because of the arm length. I think Mac has a little bit of tenacity though, where he would just go, you know what, crazy and just start mauling around. I feel like Mac has a level of craziness to him where he would just unleash.
Yeah, the energy level would be top notch from Mac. I worry about the reach for Rob versus Mac. I'm on a text line saying very convenient that your shoulder is having a problem. We're talking about this. If the shoulder was perfectly healthy, Mac versus you.
I think I would surprise some people.
Okay, all right.
Because I come across as such a nice person. I feel like that's the idea of it. Like I'm very nice, very kind. I think there's a level
what
of
if
me that
right before the fight, myself and Sean Barber, we just started trashing your Cincinnati Bengals and Joe Burrow and just got you all fired up.
That's not going to change
got
any
you
way
all
that
fired
I feel
up.
about.
I feel like then you would be all about it. Then Mac would be in trouble.
I don't think that would if it takes you trashing the Bengals to motivate me for something like that, I feel like I don't have the proper mindset.
Who would you want in your corner for the fight then?
Okay.
Because somebody's got to hype you up. Somebody's got to tell you, all right. You're all right. We're in this. We're good. You're good. Just keep with the jab. Keep with the jab.
Dead serious.
Bink should be your answer.
Bink would be. Somebody said Mac bite those kneecaps. Bink would be in his corner telling him to bite some kneecaps. Hey man, just get away with. Hey man, don't worry about it. You're gonna get away with it. It'll be all right. I don't want to cheat. I feel like Bink would bend the rules a little bit. I don't know if I want Bink in my corner.
Someone says Mac would just start laughing. No one will be able to fight. 913-586-7965.
Someone said Mac is too pretty. Drew weighs 120, and Rob's got the wingspan.
Yeah, I would pay for that fight. Jeez. I'll tell you. I wouldn't pay for Rocker versus Mahomes Sr., but I would pay for Maury versus Nixon. Sign me up. $19.99 pay-per-view or $9.99. Maybe is more accurate, but I would pay it. I would definitely pay it.
Out of the boxing shorts and everything. Oh yeah.
Up next, someone's got a proposal to stop something from happening in college sports, and it might work, but it's a terrible idea. We'll explain what it is next.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Pheasants Forever's National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic is coming to the Kansas City Convention Center this March 7th through the 9th. Join us for puppy and dog training seminars, a youth village for kids, pollinator and wildlife habitat hunting gear in the 20th anniversary of Quail Forever. It's National Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic the weekend of March 7th. Presented by Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, and Federal Ammunition. For more information, log on to pheasantfest.org.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for university housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to rexbuyskc.com. That's rexbuyskc.com. And I look forward to working with you.
Has a loved one died and left you an old car to sell? GiveMeTheVin.com has just launched the new service, GMTVCC.com. Write this down, GMTVCC.com, which is Give Me the VIN classic and collector car buying service. GMTVCC.com will hook you up with GMTVCC Pro buyers that will appraise and offer on that 69 Chevelle, old Corvette, old truck, and especially Restomods. We love Restomods at GMTVCC.com. Don't mess with consignments or auctions. Get paid today on your classic or collector car at GMTVCC.com.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
I'm at the movies, asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
With Target, checking off your Valentine's Day list has never been easier. First, surprise your favorite people with something extra thoughtful, like a soothing candle in a memorable scent, or a decorative picture frame to show off every moment. Both buy one, get one 50% off with Target Circle. And don't forget to treat yourself. Find the sweetest style for your special occasion with 20% off women's dresses now through Friday. This week, find Valentine's gifts for everyone you love, only at Target.
Hi, welcome to Staples. Hi, I hear Staples can print it all for my business. Oh, if you can think it, Staples can print it and will beat any print quote. Oh, great. I'm thinking new brochures and yard signs. No problem. I'm thinking calendars, t-shirts, and pens. Totally. I'm thinking Staples is the place for printing. I thought you might think that.
Right now at Staples, get up to $250 off your print purchase. Ends 4/5 exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for offer details. Price match guarantee valid in store and staples.com/print. Visit staples.com/price match for details.
Okay, so that's with bacon, cheese, lettuce, tomato, grilled onions, ketchup, and hold the pickles.
You know what you like. You wouldn't order your burger just any way. Why should your sports talk be any different? With Chapters on the free Odyssey app, you can choose the topics that matter to you most. Whether it's reactions, matchup previews, injury updates, or team news, quickly find what you really care about. Your football talk, your way. Download the free Odyssey app and start listening today.
This report is brought to you by CareNow Urgent Care. Find one near you at carenow.com.
CareNow Urgent Care has 15 Kansas City area locations open 7 days a week. From injuries and illnesses to school and sports physicals, CareNow Urgent Care is here to help you feel better fast. Find a location near you at carenow.com and use our convenient web check-in today.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
We'll get to some news around collegiate athletics, an idea that's out there that I think would work, but it's a bit much. We'll explain in just a bit. It's Cody Gold, Alex Gold, and Drew Nixon with you today. So during the break, it became official. We kind of knew this was going to happen. That's why I don't want to spend too much time on it, frankly. But Aaron Rodgers has officially been informed that they are moving on from him in New York. The Jets announced that they are moving in a different direction at quarterback. They just sent out a tweet with like a thank you, Rodgers, which is a nice gesture, but like it's funny only because like thank you for the memories. Like the dude, like he played what? Like,
thanks, Aaron.
Like 17 games for them, and they won.
It does seem a bit odd that they would
7 games.
Not that they would thank him because it's it's a nice gesture, but
sure.
Normally you do that if you at least are there for a long.
But he's a name, right? You show respect as a future Hall of Famer. That's not going to change. Here's the financial end of it. The Jets, according to Adam Schefter, will face about $49 million in dead money when they eventually release Aaron Rodgers. They can take the full hit this year, or most likely they will designate him as a post-June 1st cut. They do that. That means they'd carry a $23.5 million cap hit until June 1. Then it drops to 14, so they'd save $9.5 million. But there will be a $35 million cap hit in 2026. So they're going to deal with this still for another year or so of financial hit due to the contract that they signed Aaron Rodgers to, and they thought that they landed themselves the quarterback that was going to get them over the hump. Obviously, that was not the case, to say the least. Aaron Glenn's now the head coach. They had to move on from Aaron Rodgers. When you bring in Aaron Glenn, if he wants to instill his culture, his way of doing things, you just can't have somebody that wants to do their own thing. The question, more interestingly than, hey, who is the Jets' next quarterback, because that also now has to be answered, is who's giving Aaron Rodgers another shot? I think somebody is, but where? Now, some of the offshore odds real quick, they'll tell you that Pittsburgh's the favorite landing spot. The Giants staying in New York, I don't see that. Retirement's another one on the table, and then the Raiders are another pretty popular pick, or at least odd-wise popular suggestion on where he can land. I do think he'll be starting for somebody next year. I know it's crazy as that sounds because he did not play well, but I do think there's a team that's not in draft position to go draft a franchise quarterback in a draft class that a lot of people believe is a little underwhelming from a quarterback standpoint, depending on where you are. Aaron Rodgers will be 42 next December, so you'll get through most of the season for a 41-year-old quarterback, and it won't be the same deal as Russell Wilson signed with the Steelers, where the Steelers were only on the hook for like $1 million. But I don't think it'll be that crazy of a contract for him. So somebody's going to take a chance if they swing and miss. Now, is he going to sign early on in the offseason? I would be surprised with that. Like I really would be surprised if the Steelers, let's say it's league year opens up mid-March, and 2 days in, they sign Aaron Rodgers as their franchise quarterback. That, to me, would be stunning. To me, you got to exhaust other options in free agency. If you're the Raiders, if you feel like you can trade up in the draft, well, then, go get Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders. If you can't do that, and I don't think they can we get Sam Darnold? Oh, we can't get Sam Darnold? Then I would go for Aaron Rodgers. That might have been a crazy statement to say 3 years ago, like, hey, I'd rather sign Sam Darnold than Aaron Rodgers. But in the year 2025, yes, if I had to sign a dude that I don't think can win me a Super Bowl anyway, I'm going to sign the Sam Darnold QB at this point versus the 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. But my guess, if I had to pick a team, would be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It'll be interesting. It's weird how it comes down to this, but by the sounds of it, if Aaron is that gung-ho on, I got to be on Mahomes, or I got to be on McAfee's podcast, like I got to be on his show like once a week.
Maybe he'll announce where he's signing next on McAfee's show.
No, honestly, I feel like that makes a lot of sense. But I wonder if, not that would be a deal breaker, but I wonder if Pittsburgh's like, we don't want you to do that. That's why I think the Raiders makes sense in that regard. We even talked about this off air yesterday when we were planning our show out a little bit and having a pre-show meeting. I think that him being on Minnesota would be hilarious because because the person who he did not like very much in Brett Favre, he would be following his exact same career path, which would be very ironic and very funny. That's not going to happen. But I feel like the Raiders just make sense, and I don't want to say it's because of McAfee, but by the sounds of it, he wants to still do that. And how many other NFL teams are going to be cool with it? Evidently, the Jets were not about that. Is Mike Tomlin going to be about that? I find it hard to believe that Mike Tomlin, you can go on ahead, but it doesn't affect them, I don't think, by him going on to McAfee's show. It's more of I got to take this vacation during mandatory camp and all of that stuff that I think turns people the wrong way.
They let him miss some days in the offseason to do that Netflix documentary, right? Where he was on the ayahuasca trip and everything. I just wonder, it's in some ways it's similar to the conversation we had about Kelce. And only what I mean by this is, if you're Rodgers, do you want to go out looking like you did? The difference, though, I would say between him and Kelce is I think Kelce can still look pretty damn good playing football next year if he comes back and still put up, I will call it top 6 tight end numbers, top 5 tight end numbers. I think Kelce could still do that. Aaron Rodgers, he could go to the most perfect situation. I just think he doesn't really have it anymore to the point where
not top 6.
Where he's best case scenario, guys. What do we think? He plays like the 17th or 15th if everything was great, and he was fully healthy and fully in and just changed his mindset a little bit. Maybe. So that's the difference too. If you're Rodgers, do you think you can come back and actually play at a high level? If you can't, then why would you even come back another year? If you think you can and you actually can, then you come back and you make sure that the lasting memory of your career is not how it ended in New York, and maybe there's a chance you get, like, can he take a Steelers team to the playoffs? If Russell Wilson,
can a Steelers team take him to the playoffs?
Well, there you go. Yeah, fair enough. Like, and I think the answer is yes to that.
Yeah.
I think there's enough talent. We saw it play out.
Yeah, they can.
In Pittsburgh this year. My guess, if I had to, is that he is a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers next season. We'll get to some other rumors that are out there next hour about the Steelers, including maybe a phone call they made to another team about a starting quarterback. And that's the thing. I don't think anybody's plan A is Aaron Rodgers. I think you explore all these other options, and then if you basically settle for Aaron Rodgers at this point in time. And that's what I think would have to happen for Vegas to be true, or for the Steelers situation to be true. So we can talk about this more later, but that's just a little bit of breaking news, although we all kind of expected this based on some reporting earlier in the week. But if you're just joining, Aaron Rodgers has been officially informed by the Jets that they are moving on from him as their quarterback, and interesting to see what direction the Jets themselves go for their quarterback spot going forward. But people like your idea that he should just go all Favre, Drew, and just go to Minnesota like Brett Favre did.
I think it would,
as long as he eventually doesn't, allegedly steal money from a state later on in his life, then we'll be good.
As long as he doesn't do that, that would be bad.
Yeah, stay away from Mississippi. Stay away. All right, let's talk college sports for a second, because there's a proposal out there that I think would work. it would work, but it also is crazy at the same time. What I'm talking about is Greg Byrne, who is the Alabama athletics director. And he's got a solution in his mind for this debate that's been going on for many years, but it's gotten worse, right? I think we would admit, especially with the Ohio State-Michigan incident, it came back up big time. And that is court storming, field storming. And I don't want to get into reopen the debate about storming the court and their college kids and having a good time. There's obviously the safety issue. That is, I think, the most important here, and why a lot of people believe it shouldn't happen. What I want to talk about is the proposal, which is, right now, the SEC and other conferences will fine teams, universities, athletic departments.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. For example, most recently, Vanderbilt received a $500,000 fine from the SEC after they stormed the court when they upset Kentucky in Nashville. Big win for their program. His idea, though, the Alabama AD, it's not the first time he's brought it up, but it's getting more traction. He says that you should call the game a forfeit after the fans leave the stands for the field or court. That could be the solution. He says safety is the main issue. Quote, I think from a safety standpoint, keeping people off the fields and courts is a good thing for everybody involved. If we said that the home team, if they storm the field or court, they're going to lose the game right then and there, that will stop it. I don't think he's wrong that it would stop it. I mean, you want to talk about a punishment. It would stop it.
It certainly would.
You would not, I think, because the university would also have such strict punishment within it, and they would, if they had to have even more security, nobody is going to have a buzzer-beating shot to knock off the top 10 team in the country, and their fans rush the court, and then they say, oh, by the way, the number 10 team actually still won. Could you? That's never happening, right? Am I crazy?
No.
It would work. But you can't do this.
It would be egregiously stupid.
You would also have you would have issues with the fan base and the team. Imagine the coach just flat out calling out the student that rushed the court, that then cost his team a top 20 win that may have got them in the NCAA tournament. It would just be nuts, honestly.
We're letting something that had nothing to do with what happened on the floor determine the outcome of a game, which is Very, very, very dumb. I will say this. It is kind of funny hearing Alabama's athletic director say this after they lost to Vanderbilt in football and after they have a very good basketball program now as well, where, hey, if the other team storms, hey, we still get the win. Hey, Alabama might be in the football playoff. We might have been in then if this rule existed because Vandy would have stormed they would have rushed the field or whatever. You're right in the fact that it would absolutely fix things, but to have an outcome of a game that is taken very seriously from a football standpoint and a basketball standpoint in terms of determining potentially whether a team makes or does not make the NCAA tournament, the college football playoff, a bowl game, just a monumental upset in general, whatever. You can't have it be related to something that is, one, after the game is over with officially, and two, something that has nothing to do with any of the players on the actual field, themselves. I don't know how you fix it. I think that it's very easy. You can identify students, I think, easier than any time beforehand. You can start. I know that they've had trouble picking out students who have thrown bottles on the stands and stuff like that.
Right.
But there's some way where I think you can penalize the student body maybe more than the team itself if something like this continues to happen. Because if the world was perfect, you get the opposing team off the floor, everybody rushes, and it's fine. And there's no problem.
And we've seen some adjustments. Some coaches have called timeouts in college basketball in particular. They'll call a timeout. They know the game's over, and they'll take their team off the floor to prevent that. We've seen that play out here locally with a couple of the schools here in the last year or so. That makes a lot of sense, allowing that to happen. I think some schools have gotten better about, roping off, basically. I'm mainly talking about basketball because it happens in football, but I think the safety issues from
the court rushing is more
just
dangerous.
because of the square footage. Like, we're talking about a much smaller area compared to a football field.
For sure.
So safety, I totally get why people want to find a solution. A lot of people, and I got a text from my buddy, and then also the text line has mentioned this too, which is what's to stop someone from pretending to be like, now this would take a pretty coordinated effort in a game. It's like, what's to stop fans from acting like they're fans of the winning team and then striking and costing the team a game? Now, they're not going to cause a forfeit if 10 fans do it, I don't think. I think it's if all of a sudden the masses do that. Like, if one idiot rushes the court, they're not forfeiting the game.
Yeah,
So you would have to have a pretty large number that somehow got into that building and pretended to be like KU's playing, K-State in Bramlage like they just did. Now, they did not. To their credit, actually, they did not storm the court, if I remember right.
I thought that was impressive from K-State. Good for them.
So they did not storm the court when they beat KU. Maybe that's telling about KU's season. I don't know. But they did not storm the court. Imagine if there's just a bunch of, Kansas fans? Is that what we're alluding? Like, we just think there's a bunch of KU fans that there's 200 of them somehow, and they all storm the court wearing K-State gear?
I will say
and then to cost K-State the win? Like, is that what we're talking about?
That would be very coordinated. Also, don't put anything past college students at this rate. I don't know, because people who love their college teams love their college teams. I don't. So somebody says ban the student section from attending the next home game. I don't think you can do that.
That's tough.
I will say
as well.
That would be a hefty penalty in terms of don't mess this up for our team. I think there's.
I mean, student tickets, I don't know how every university does it. I know
that would be interesting, but I don't think they would do it, nor should they, because it kills the college part of it kills the atmosphere.
It does have to be a stiff punishment to prevent it. But part of, I still think part of being in a student section, if you're at a school that is not expected to win and you come up with a massive upset, whether it's football or whatever, part of that is the fun, right? College kids rushing the field and all that. How do you make it safer is a fair question. I don't know if flat out forfeiting wins is the solution, even if I'll admit that I think that would stop it. And if that's all we're trying to do, then so be it. But there's no way this would get approved. It was just an interesting suggestion that was thrown out there by the athletic director at Alabama, right?
They have more things to worry about than this at Alabama.
913-586-7965. We'll get to some comments from one national radio host that honestly, and I know we play a lot of audio over the year about what people say in regards to the Chiefs or whatever. And they're like, there's a lot of dumb stuff. I truly, deep down, and I had to think, if we were to really rank out one of the dumbest things that has been said in the last 5 years, what I heard yesterday from a national radio host is takes the cake. It is one of the dumbest things. We can just get to it now, actually, and just get it out of the way. Rob Parker hosts a national radio show on Fox Sports Radio, which you hear sometimes right here.
Yes.
On 96.5 The Fan. We're not on local. We carry national programming. You guys know it, overnights and otherwise. Rob Parker said this about the Chiefs' loss and Andy Reid's future.
Andy Reid should step down as head coach. And you're going to be like, they just went to the Super Bowl 3 times, Andy Reid, blah, 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 blah. This is not a one-game reaction because they lost in the Super Bowl and they got boat raced and it was 40-6. Where were the adjustments? Where was the game plan? I'm not a football coach. Mm-hmm. Guys who are football coaches and question the game plan. No running game to start at all, and then you get behind, you got to pass. This is what he did in Philadelphia all the time, pass happy, always throwing the ball. They got tired of that in Philadelphia. Number 2, this fall off the cliff is 2 years in the making. Last year, they won the Super Bowl, so it kind of covered up how bad things were. You remember with the receivers and the struggles and Patrick Mahomes. Here's another year. Andy Reid is supposed to be an offensive genius. Why is Patrick Mahomes struggling so much when you can't figure out a way to get him off and to get him to be not 50 touchdowns and throwing every ball downfield, but way better? Can you admit that Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the same quarterback the last 2 years? Andy Reid is supposed to be that guy, and yet we haven't seen it. It's been a nice run. The last 2 years have been disappointing, regular seasons. Yes, they went to the Super Bowl. Yes, both those times. And yeah, I'm not talking about the last 2 years. And this year, they got embarrassed.
That was Rob Parker on Fox Sports Radio yesterday. Real quick, I'll address the part because I know we'll get the text. We even said they didn't make good adjustments. They didn't make any. I don't disagree with that portion of it. That's the only part that makes sense of the entire thing. Did the Chiefs make adjustments? No. Was the game plan bad? Yes. All that is true. However, when you start,
Andy Reid should step down.
When you start with that, I can't take you seriously. You're either the biggest phony and you don't believe what you're saying. You're the biggest phony. You're just doing it. So I guess here we are playing audio of your show. You're just trying to get attention. Or quite honestly, and I've never met Rob Parker in my life. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. Or quite honestly, you're a freaking moron. It's one of the two. You can say about the game plan stuff, that's fine. But the minute you suggest that they've been falling off a cliff for 2 years when they were coming off back-to-back championships and they were closer to a three-peat than anybody has ever been in NFL history in the modern era, you're an idiot. Or you don't believe what the hell you're saying. And quite honestly, I think it's probably more that. And that's what sucks, unfortunately, with how some of this stuff has gone recently. But that's absurd. Has Mahomes not put up the numbers recently? We've talked about that. Has the offense been as explosive recently? No, we've talked about that. But the idea that Andy Reid should step down is just absolutely ludicrous.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense and he refers to the last 2 regular seasons. Hey, Rob, you're smart enough to know this. You're watching the games. You cover the sport. The Chiefs won the last 2 Super Bowls. So regardless of how the regular seasons looked, they still got the job done in the end. And, if they don't make a Super Bowl for the next 2 years and it's some of the same issues, okay, Rob Parker has this taken. It makes a lot of sense 2 years from now if that's the case. But to say it as if they haven't won the last 2 Super Bowls and it's been a serious problem where, yeah, the regular season, sure, it hasn't looked that great, but I think all the conversation that we have here is it's evidently more of a local thing than anything else. The Chiefs don't care about the regular season because the division's so freaking easy. The last few years it's been, you're going to get to the playoffs eventually. That's when the season starts. It doesn't matter whether you got to go on the road or whether you're hosting. The regular season stuff means absolutely nothing to how the last 2 seasons have gone for them.
We had a discussion yesterday, Drew. I mean, I think everybody in Kansas City, I know I see it from you guys as well, that text in. I think everybody has acknowledged that they have to get better in certain areas, that in the game itself there were mistakes and they did not adjust, and there were both from a player and a coaching perspective. That all can be true. But to suggest overall that the last 2 years they've been just falling off a cliff when they won 2 championships and they almost just, they were a game away, 4 quarters away from winning a third is just ridiculous. Now, someone said we should create a new game on the show, and I kind of like it. They said we should have, it sounds like this is a new game. Read a quote and ask idiot or troll. I kind of like that. We just play it. Do we think they're just trolling or are they actually a moron? I kind of like that. We could do that a lot.
You would like to hope that a lot of them are just trolling, but
I think a lot of it is that.
Some people legitimately might believe
there's a few people that might lack intelligence, but like on this take, I actually think it's trolling. For his sake, I really hope it is because it's one or the other. You're either an idiot or you're just flat out trolling and you don't believe anything you just said. The beginning.
Andy Reid should step down.
We're done.
There are a lot of people who are pointing out that there's a lot of good points in there, which I think that's
but
very
that's the
true.
problem. The adjustment stuff, there are good points in there.
Yeah.
But when you say he should step down, you lost me. You lost me in the beginning. The stuff in the middle we've said, we've acknowledged. All right. Up next, we get to the 11 o'clock hour. We may not be talking enough about one, maybe 2 big QB moves of this offseason. No, it's not about Aaron Rodgers. It's about 2 guys that are still under contract. I'll tell you who that is, and there's already some schedule speculation happening. It's coming up next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your home for Kansas City sports. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
College basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets and even who's cutting down the nets. I was taking a look at some of the odds there. Iowa State sitting around 12-1. You can go further down the board if you're still a believer in the Jayhawks, 40-1 to cut down the nets. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app, it's easy to use, and when you win, you're going to get paid instantly. Just visit FanDuel.com/Alex. That's the promo code to use, Alex, and get in on the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and President, Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. The one you love is the light of your life. And if you're like most of us, you want to do whatever you can to nurture your relationship. But if you're suffering with erectile dysfunction, you know the impacts the condition is likely having on you and your partner. ED is a relationship destroyer. It can contribute to depression, distancing, conflicts, and even breakups and divorce. And what's so disturbing about this is that most men who suffer with ED can be successfully treated, but a lot of guys don't seek treatment when they should. At Heartland Men's Health, we have protocols that are effective in well over 90% of cases. In fact, if you're like most guys, you could be having great sex within a day or two of your first appointment, and maybe find you're performing like you haven't in a long time. So call Heartland Men's Health today. Your initial visit is only $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices, Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
Company has your back. Our easy process to create your dream engagement ring is rock solid. 1, pick your ring setting. 2, choose your center stone. 3, personalize it. With our wide selection of beautiful settings and hand-picked diamonds and gemstones, all at competitive prices, your ring will be as unique as your love story. We'll hand-set your ring in our jeweler's workshop right here in our store and protect it with our free lifetime warranty. Walk in with a dream, walk out with the ring that will take their breath away. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Winter is more than half over, and things are looking up. But before we start thinking about spring lawn care, I'd like to ask you to look up at your trees. This is Larry Ryan at Ryan Lawn and Tree. And right now, before the leaves fill in, is a great time to find and take care of old storm damage, remove dead branches, and carefully prune trees for better growth and storm resilience. Now is also when you can save 15% with our winter rates. Our team of master pruners and certified arborists is unmatched in both skill and care. And at Ryan Lawn & Tree, they're also employee owners. You're not just a customer, you're their customer. I think you'll be impressed with the difference that makes. So will your valuable trees. Take advantage of our winter rates and enjoy 15% off all tree services when you book before March 1st. Call today or book online at ryanlawn.com/tree.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million+ products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Mornings can start feeling the same. Wake up, brush teeth, go to work. But with breakfast from Wendy's, it's like, wake up, brush teeth, Baconate with a breakfast Baconator. Roll with the sausage breakfast burrito. Buddy it up with a honey buddy. Or get seasoned with seasoned potatoes. And then go to work. Sorry. When you're ready for a fresh wake-up call, gotta be Wendy's.
At participating U.S. Wendy's during breakfast hours.
I'm at the movies, asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things. People. Love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Head home with The Drive. Weekdays starting at 2 on 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station.
All right, 11 o'clock hour here on Cody and Gold. Alex Gold, Drew Nixon with you today. Coming up in the noon hour, Danan Hughes will join us for his final visit. Put a bow on the season, look ahead to the offseason as well. That's coming up at 12:10. You guys can keep interacting with us. We appreciate it. It's always fun to get your guys' perspective as well. Be part of the show, 913-586-7965. That is the Jay's Southland Tow Service text line. We'll get to some speculation that's already out there about the schedule for next year, not just with the Chiefs, but around the NFL and a couple of things we can already eliminate. But we haven't discussed, because the Chiefs have been going for this three-peat run up until Sunday, what kind of movement could happen this offseason quarterback-wise? We already know the news earlier today. The Jets are officially moving on from Aaron Rodgers. I'm not even talking about that. But two quarterbacks that are under contract, could they be on the move, including one that has won a ring in the last couple of years? The first one is Matthew Stafford. He, of course, has won a ring. That's what I'm talking about. There has been a lot of speculation. Greg Rosenthal, who covers the NFL, a few others as well, Daniel Jeremiah, Move the Sticks, speculating that perhaps Matthew Stafford is way more likely on the move than not, that the compensation could be not just a first-round pick, but could it be maybe an upper first-round pick? Now, that's where I'm not so sure the compensation you can get. The rumor out there is that the New York Giants, watch them as a team. Could the New York Giants go and trade for Matthew Stafford? When's the last time in a trade that somebody that's still playing at a very high level got traded with a ring? Well, the answer is the guy that just got cut by the Jets, right? Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers ultimately got traded, had won a ring. He got traded to New York Jets. At that time, that seemed kind of unheard of. Well, let's not forget, this has been happening more. It's not quite NBA player empowerment and all that, but Russell Wilson, who had won a ring as well, ultimately, Seattle Seahawks, it was more their doing than his, but they kind of got sick of him, and we all know they traded him to Denver. Did not work out, but they traded him to Denver. When Rodgers got traded to the Jets, it did not work out. Matthew Stafford getting traded to the Giants, like, out of the two, it's easy to say, well, for sure it would be better. But is there something to be said for these teams that are looking at trading for quarterbacks that are late in their career, that have won a ring in their original destination? Like, should you try to pull off a move like that? Because the last two examples you just gave were not just bad, disaster. Russ was a disaster in Denver. Aaron Rodgers was a disaster in New York, and they finally just got out of that, although there's repercussions. Think about basically like the destruction left behind, if you will, from Rodgers. 2 second-round picks, $75 million. They were basically told to sign Alan Lazard and Randall Cobb and Tim Boyle. Oh, and then give up another third-round pick and $11 million for Devontae Adams. Oh, and then they also wanted you to sign Nathaniel Hackett as an OC. That was a destruction all for 5 wins that Aaron Rodgers cost you. Now, I don't think Matthew Stafford is nearly as divisive or anything like that as Aaron Rodgers. And will he demand the same things from the Giants? No.
Trade for Cooper Kupp, guys.
But
just bring him over with me.
Like that whole. Think about the scenario. Could the Giants, who already have Malik Neighbors, they have a nice young running back who'll be entering year 2 in Tracy. Neighbors, you trade for Kupp and you trade for Matthew Stafford.
Would they trade 3 overall? Is that what it would take?
For both those players, I struggle to think that a top 5 pick is required to get it done. The Rams might ask for that. Is Matthew Stafford going for a top 5 pick at this point in his career?
If you include Cooper Kupp, maybe. But, I mean,
Matthew Stafford is 38, right? Or just turned 37. I'm sorry.
That'd be tough.
He just turned 37 years old. And I thought he played at a really high level this year. He was very, very good. And we all know they ended up coming up short in the divisional round to the eventual Super Bowl champion, Philadelphia Eagles. His numbers this year, 20-10, played in 16 games, 3,700 yards. A couple years back against your Bengals, we all know they won the Super Bowl. He was a Pro Bowler a year ago and had 3,900 yards, 24-11. His best year was 2021. That was the year we were referencing there. We had 41 touchdowns and 17 picks. He's obviously on the downward slope of his career. If I'm the Giants, I'm interested, but I'm not giving up my top 5 pick. No, absolutely not.
Would you give? So what do you think Cooper Kupp would be on the market if it were just Cooper Kupp? Is it a 3rd round pick?
3rd or 4th, yeah.
All right, so if I was the Rams, I don't know if they'd want to do this probably because I don't know who they've got in the chamber. I think it would be Stetson Bennett actually, but
is he still around there?
Or a
Jimmy Garoppolo is there.
It would be Jimmy G or Stetson Bennett. I think Stetson Bennett's still there. But would you take, if you're the Giants, would you send 2026 first and a 2025 third for both of those guys? I don't know if the Rams would take that.
If I'm the Rams, though, I don't know. I think I want picks this year. I don't know if I'm taking picks into the future.
Or maybe you take
at least the top pick.
If you took a first for 2026 and then you took a second this year, I wonder if that would be enough to, delay the 1st round pick. It's probably not going to be as good as 3rd, obviously, because they have Stafford and they would have Cooper Kupp and Malik Neighbors. But
it would bring.
I wonder if it'd be enough for them to say yes, even though they would have questions at quarterback. The Rams would.
It would bring respectability to a franchise that's been a mess. I mean, Matthew Stafford's not a long-term solution. He's not going to be there 5 years from now. But with Neighbors, with Tracy, with Stafford, and let's even take Cooper Kupp out of the conversation. With that group, look at where that division is at. So here's why I think the Giants should do it, is because where they're at in the draft, unless you believe Cam Ward is that dude, and maybe they do, otherwise, where are you at? The Eagles just won a ring. They're not going anywhere with their roster.
If you're Brian Dable, you definitely want him to trade because it could save your job.
Brian Dable is, for him individually and their general manager with where they're at. The Commanders have their franchise quarterback and Jaden Daniels. That's clear. The Cowboys, fortunately, are worse than
They might be better. The Cowboys might be dead last in the division if they got Matt Stafford.
Yes, they would. I think so. So, if you're the Giants, you have to do something. This would be a big splash. It would get you to being a competitive football team for a couple of seasons. Now, you still would eventually need to find your franchise quarterback. But otherwise, where are you at in the pecking order in that division? So I think this is not a crazy scenario. And if you're the Rams, you're like, well, why would the Rams move on from Stafford? Well, It's at the point where it's time for maybe a little bit of a reset. You've got some good young defensive players if you're the Rams. Is there a reason to pivot in a different direction? You came up short this year. You had a terrible start. You ended up coming all the way back, and you won that division. And you think about the makeup of the NFC West. The Seahawks, maybe they're pivoting from Geno. We'll see. The Niners are in a reset mode, it looks like, unless you believe they're going to completely flip that roster. And then the Cardinals, they're kind of just there.
I feel like, to me, and this will be a segue into the next part of this, I think the answer is obvious, but is Matt Stafford a better option for the Giants, or would Trevor Lawrence be, given the position that the Giants are in, where not that they're not win now, but they get a young quarterback. Brian Dable did some good stuff with Josh Allen. Not to say that he can resurrect Trevor Lawrence's career in a way, but he can take them. He'll have Trevor Lawrence for a little bit. They'll have paid him, of course. Or if you're the Steelers, I know that there's some rumblings around Trevor Lawrence, but if you're the Steelers, you know that Matt Stafford is good right now. Like, I think Matt Stafford is the better. We all would agree. Matt Stafford is better right now than Trevor Lawrence. If you're the Steelers, would you actually want to maybe trade for Matt Stafford and pair him up with the defense that you currently have? Maybe draft another wide receiver as well. In the draft, I don't know what it would take to do that, but because there's the reports, of course, that Trevor Lawrence, the Steelers might have made a call for Trevor Lawrence. Would it actually make more sense for the Giants to get Lawrence and the Steelers to get Matt Stafford, given the situation of the two teams?
Well, Lawrence gives you more long-term,
of course,
obviously, stability. Yeah, you jumped ahead a little bit. We can get to that. That's fine. Now, I
was transitioning into it.
No, you're good. There is a report that the Steelers have contacted the Jags about Trevor Lawrence, and they are trying to trade for the Jacksonville quarterback. Reminder, though, the Jags don't even have a GM yet. So the Jags are interviewing GM candidates. So I don't think this is close. Anybody can call anybody. Anybody can call anybody and see who may or may not be available. Remember, Trevor Lawrence just got a new deal. To answer your question about who's better, the reason why I think it's more likely, if you even believe in Trevor Lawrence is getting traded, that it would be to the Steelers. It's draft compensation across the board for both. I would have to go deeper into what the Steelers have in their cap situation. Can the Giants afford the contract for Trevor Lawrence versus Stafford? I don't know what the difference is. Can they afford that or not? Because Lawrence just got an extension, and I don't know where Stafford's at money-wise compared to Lawrence 3 years from now.
They got Brian Burns, right, on contract?
Yes. So I don't know. I admittedly haven't done a deep dive on the Giants and Giants and Steelers cap situation. But yeah, that's interesting. I mean, if I had to guess, Trevor Lawrence is probably not getting moved, because if Liam Cohen's a new head coach, then what are you doing at quarterback? We can have our issues with Trevor Lawrence, hey, he's overvalued and they shouldn't have given him the extension or whatever. Okay, that's we can have that convo. But somebody's playing quarterback for the next year. If you trade Trevor Lawrence, who's your quarterback in 2025 for a first-year head coach?
Yeah.
So I don't think Trevor Lawrence is getting traded. This sounds like a lot of hey, a reporter heard that, the Steelers called Jacksonville. It doesn't hurt to call and find out if they'd be willing. But either it's one of those, hey, we're not trading them once they get a GM, or the compensation might be just absolutely ridiculous for Trevor Lawrence.
What do you if you're the Steelers, though, what do you rather have? I know the longevity thing is there, and they would essentially be entering, not quarterback hell in a way, but when Stafford's career is done, you're right back in the same situation, I feel like, if you're Pittsburgh. But if you're in win-now mode, which I know it's easy to say that a team is in win-now mode or a team is not, especially now looking ahead to next season, but if you're the Steelers, knowing how good they are roster-wise, it feels like, in a way, they've been a quarterback away from being a legitimate enough contender. Maybe they need another wide receiver, another weapon, maybe another running back, whatever the case is. Is it Matt Stafford the guy that you might rather want, while it also would take less to get him? I mean, if you're Pittsburgh, they have, I think, 21 in this draft. I don't think you'd have to give up anything else. You could just trade, hey, we'll give you the 21st pick for Matt Stafford. Maybe the Rams can give us a 5th-round pick or a 6th-round pick in return as well, just to give us a little bit more, instead of just a quarterback that's going to play for another year or two. And then it gives them a chance to win, while it also gives the Rams, who knows? I mean, maybe they start Jimmy G and go from there. But it feels like the Steelers, it would make more sense maybe for them actually to trade for Stafford than Trevor Lawrence. I know that obviously, as you said, was the report that they were calling. But it seems like Matt Stafford's a legitimate trade candidate.
I think it's way more likely he gets moved for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on it as we get closer to the league year. But we could have in another offseason a guy with a ring get traded at the quarterback spot. And the question I would have is does this have the same fate? This seems like it's in better position to work versus the last two quarterbacks with rings that got traded have blown up in the team that required him's face. And Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Now, for different reasons.
Maybe that's why the Steelers wouldn't want to do
Russ
that.
was just flat out bad in Denver. Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and then the whole thing, and Robert Saleh and the lack of control in that organization and the ownership stinks. But that would be the interesting part of it to me. Would this scenario actually work?
Are we sure that Rodgers actually is going to start? I know, just thinking about like Stafford and Lawrence, obviously, and the guys that are being drafted, and then, of course, Jimmy G could start if Stafford gets traded. Are we sure that Aaron Rodgers actually starts?
Am I 100% sure? Of course not.
Sam Darnold, you said he would take him. I wonder, is he actually going to have a...
Who? Rodgers?
Yeah, is he actually going to have that good of a market?
Look at the draft. So it won't be the first plan. It's usually going to be a team that doesn't think they can go draft a franchise quarterback. And then they start looking at the free agent options. And a Gardner Minshew, a Sam Darnold, a Kirk Cousins, and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, and Russell Wilson, Justin Fields. Like those are the names.
Kirk Cousins off the Achilles too.
Yeah. That's the name. Like. I guess all I would say is like Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell ended up starting games this year. Like there will be at least one or two teams that just like it's stuck. You know, the Steelers have other options to pivot to, but it would not surprise me if they went that route. And then the Raiders, if they think they can't trade or they can't trade up in the draft, and they can't get Sam Darnold, then where are they going next? They go Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson reuniting. I guess that's one scenario. It's not 100% certainty, but it would not surprise me at all if Rodgers is starting for somebody. I would not start him because I just flat out don't think he's any good anymore. A lot of Jets fans were mad they moved on from him, though, believe it or not. A friend of mine covers the Jets and does a daily radio show up there and everything, and he and many, many Jets fans wanted Aaron Rodgers back. They actually thought that was their best option because for them, they don't have, like, who's their quarterback next year? They're not going back to Sam Darnold. I know that. So, like, that's the one guy I do know they're not going to sign. That would be funny. But where are they going for quarterback? They just traded for a quarterback with an Achilles injury. They're not signing Kirk Cousins and they're not signing Sam Darnold. So those are two of the options off the table. Who the heck is starting for the Jets next year?
They'll draft somebody too early in the first round, or they'll wait till the second or third and just play them. And if they stink, then they'll just move on. I guess that might just be the way that it goes. It seems like.
All right, let's talk about some speculation that's already out there schedule-wise in the NFL. Right, and that would be the Eagles opening up the season on the Thursday night game. We know that's how this works when you're the Super Bowl champs. So the Chiefs, we know, will not open up on Thursday night for the first time in 3 seasons. They will play, we presume, normally on Sunday. I guess they could play a Monday night game, but they will likely play on Sunday. And so you start to think about the opponents. The Chiefs and Royals have conflicts in their Week 1 schedule. The Royals have a day game on that Sunday. So the Chiefs being home Week 1 is very, very unlikely, if not impossible. Certainly not a noon kickoff at Arrowhead, and the Royals are playing that day. And they've moved. I understand they moved Royals games before. I just don't, not for a Week 1 game. They haven't, though. So I would be very, very surprised. I think the Royals' scheduling conflict means that the Chiefs are probably on the road, so you start to go, okay, Week 1 stuff real quick. It's just, we have plenty of time on this. I get it, but people are already speculating who the Eagles can open up against. And you had the comments from Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Lions saying that the Eagles should open up against like a real team. He wants to go to Philadelphia Week 1. Amon-Ra St. Brown and the Detroit Lions. But the Chiefs' opponents on the road this year, or next year, I guess it is this year now, at Buffalo, at Dallas, of course the divisional games, we all know that, at Jacksonville, at Giants, at Titans. Those are the potential road games for the Chiefs, or those are the road games for the Chiefs. So in Week 1...
Cowboys Monday night?
The thing with the Cowboys, what I don't know is...
Or Sunday night?
Sunday night. Is whether or not is the NFL going to do the Thanksgiving thing. The Cowboys Thanksgiving game draws no matter what, though. And so that's the... Otherwise, I would say, this feels like the Chiefs are due for a Thanksgiving Day game. They haven't played on Black Friday. They haven't played on Christmas Day. What holiday have they not played on recently? Thanksgiving. And so, and they're in Dallas. We know Dallas is always hosting a Thanksgiving Day game or night game. So I think that's the question. Is the NFL and the TV execs saying, we want Dallas and we're blocking it for Thanksgiving? They're going to do a massive number that day anyway. So do you want to blow Chiefs Cowboys, who, as you said, you could do a random Monday night or Sunday night game anytime in the season, and the number's going to be huge because it's the Chiefs and because it's the Dallas Cowboys. No matter how bad Dallas may be, they do draw. Their ratings are always great. So I think there's a really good chance they end up on Thanksgiving, but I understand the argument that is the NFL going to basically waste that matchup. Otherwise, at Buffalo is kind of interesting. They just lost to the Chiefs for a fourth time in the postseason.
Yeah.
So on Sunday, right away, now their new stadium's not done yet, I think, right? They got another year. Otherwise, that'd be like a no-brainer. Have them open up on Sunday night in Buffalo, their brand new stadium. It would seem like an easy decision. Their stadium's not done yet, I don't think. So that's why I could still see them not doing that and saving Chiefs-Bills. Otherwise, look, could the Chiefs just end up on the road at like Tennessee in week 1 and just be like a normal, like, I know typically that's not how they've got.
Would that be a nooner then?
A nooner, but like normally they put the big boys on, like the Chiefs open up on Thursday. Last year Sunday Night Football I think was the Bills, and then on Monday it was like the Niners, who they didn't think was going to be bad, but like the Niners and Jets, and everybody thought that was that. Usually they try to go on paper with the big marquee matchup, and you would think the Chiefs are still part of that equation. So it's hard to think that they would just open up like a normal noon kickoff, but there's only so many road games, right?
Who are the other opponents? Tennessee, Dallas, Buffalo, and who else?
Tennessee. So the Chiefs road games, actually, Tennessee, the Giants, of course, the divisional stuff, and then at Jacksonville, at Buffalo, at Dallas.
How often have they done? I know for the AFC
divisional?
North, they've done divisional a lot to start the season off. I don't know if
to
they
look
do
the
that.
last time the Chiefs opened up divisional. Let's see. I think it was the year Tyrod Taylor had the punctured lung. Wasn't that week 1? Hold on. Let's go back. Obviously, last year they opened up against Baltimore. We know that. That was the Thursday night game.
I could see a 325 Denver on the road at Denver game to start.
The last time, because then that was the Lions in 2023. I think the last time the Chiefs opened up divisionally was the Chargers punctured lung thing. That was
week 2.
That was week 2 in 2022. But that wasn't the punctured lung year. Herbert didn't make his debut in 2022. That's too recent.
It was 21, I think, or 20, because him and Burrow got selected in the same year.
Yeah, because 2020 was the year they opened. That was Chargers week 2 as well. That was an overtime game. So no, they haven't opened. I'm going all the way back. I'm trying to the last time they opened divisional.
I wonder if this would be the
2019 was Jacksonville. Yeah, I mean, it's
been a long time.
I go back a ways. Yeah, I mean, it's at least the 2017, 2018 here. 2018, the last time the Chiefs opened up in a divisional game. 2018 at the Chargers. There you go. 38-28
I feel like this could be a year, because I don't know if you want to blow that Chiefs-Bills matchup in week 1. Or the Cowboys one, I guess, either, if you want to talk about that one as well. But it feels like maybe they throw a division game in there to start off with. I don't know how you'd feel about that if you're the Chiefs. I mean, you get a divisional game out of the way, which is kind of nice. But I feel like Chiefs at Denver at 325, still get them in a good slot, a prime slot, if you will. Not prime time, but national televised audience. Broncos were a playoff team.
I could see it.
Them, I guess, for the Chargers, too. I guess you could throw them in there, too. It feels like a division round or a division game isn't out of the question, I guess, as much as anything else, given like Tennessee or the Giants. I don't think they're going to put them. The Tennessee game feels like a week 3 or week 4 game where it's just randomly in there, like the Saints game.
I'm keeping an eye on the Nashville one because that's my road trip for the I didn't
you want it to be warmer, I would assume? You want it to be September?
That would be nice. I like Nashville, but 2 years ago, I went to the Packers game. That was a bucket list one. I've been to Nashville, but not for a Chiefs game. I was there for the draft in 2018, I think it was. So whenever that was.
There you go.
And it's a great draft site, and eventually it'll be a Super Bowl host site. No, but that's going to be a game. When the Chiefs played there a couple years ago, I didn't go, but remember that was full of red. That's a fun traveling destination. This year it was supposed to be Pittsburgh, but it ended up on Christmas Day, so I ended up not doing that. There was a group of friends. We were going to go to the Steelers game. I think that the Chiefs-Titans game this year will be the friend trip for a Chiefs road game. So, yes, I don't want the Nashville game to be week 1. I'd rather it be, like you said, I'd rather it be.
It's like the Saints game. It's
October
just thrown
5th.
In there.
Give me a little October 5th Chiefs.
Yeah, it's just randomly tossed in there.
In Nashville. And find out. And if you're right, it'll be Chiefs versus Mason Rudolph, in week 4.
Or Will Levis. I mean, whoever they choose, I guess.
Somebody crappy. I guess it could be, another veteran.
If they draft Cam Ward or Shedeur number 1, does that change things? I feel like it does. Like where they might put him week 1. Patrick Mahomes against the number 1 overall pick. I wonder if they're, because there's some juice there.
All right, coming up next, we'll get to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. We'll talk more about, are there any trade candidates on this roster? And Jay Binkley's going to call in. He's got his draft plan already. You know he's been thinking about it for days. He said, I want to call in. I want to tell you my plan. So we're going to find out together what that is. Coming up next on Cody and Gold.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Attention lovebirds. Valentine's Day is almost here, and Diamonds Direct has the gifts to wow your special someone. From dazzling diamonds and trending gold to vibrant gemstones, pearls, even timepieces. With hundreds of stunning styles under $1,000 and an exquisite collection of one-of-a-kind luxury pieces. Make your moment unforgettable. The best selection, value, and service are waiting for you. Make this Valentine's unforgettable with fine jewelry for every budget. Diamonds Direct. Your love, our passion.
This Valentine's Day, fall in love with Hy-Vee. The classic dozen roses, just $19.99. Avoid the restaurant hassle and treat your Valentine to a home-cooked meal featuring bacon-wrapped filet, salad, bakery fresh baguette, twice-baked potatoes, vegetable, and dessert for just $35 a couple. Top it off with your favorite bottle of wine or spirits from Hy-Vee's wide selection. One stop makes this Valentine's Day the sweetest ever, only at Hy-Vee.
I love Hy-Vee for so many different reasons, but one of the things I love most about Hy-Vee is their customer service. Everyone that works at Hy-Vee is awesome. And you know what else I love about Hy-Vee? I don't have to sacrifice quality and service to get low prices. Hy-Vee just dropped the price on thousands of items in every aisle, in every department, on items I buy every day, both in-store and online. Hy-Vee even match prices with the nation's biggest discount stores. So check out Hy-Vee today and get those low prices only at Hy-Vee.
Hey, Missouri sports fans, I've got good news. Underdog is available to play in your state. Perfect for basketball season. Doesn't matter who your favorite stars are. Doesn't matter if it's an alley-oop. Doesn't matter if it's a three. You could be winning money just by watching sports with Underdog. Underdog is one of the leading sports apps, and you can now play it in your state. You want to win up to 1,000 times your money? You can with Underdog. You just got to choose higher or lower on those player stats. Maybe you like Robinson for the Heat to go higher than his total. You choose higher or lower points, assists, rebounds. Create those entries for a chance to win real cash prize. You can pay for as little as $1, get everything right, win up to 1,000 times your money. So yeah, you can turn $1 into $1,000 with your basketball knowledge. Millions of fans have already won billions making plays over at Underdog. Download the Underdog app and sign up using promo code TAPP, T-A-P-P, to unlock a special offer for up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on the fun when you sign up with that promo code TAPP. Claim your special offer today to get to that $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon your first deposit. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org.
Hey, it's Gold telling you about Max Motors. I was just recently at one of their 7 locations between Kansas and Missouri. They've got 7 locations, including one that's just 7 minutes from the Grandview Triangle if you're going 192 miles an hour. That's, of course, the Max Motors Harrisonville location. That's where I got a chance to drive a couple new cars, test drive, and find out exactly what the buying process can be like. They make it so easy. They tell you about the total cost of ownership, not just what your monthly payment's going to be. Max Motors has the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car. MaxMotors.com.
Hi, it's me, your USPS Ground Advantage shipment. Just left the warehouse and hitting the road.
I know. Just got the notification.
Great. Smooth sailing so far. I'm almost there.
Yes, I know. I get all the updates.
Made it. Safe and sound.
I know.
Well, did you know I was with USPS the whole time?
Oh, yeah. I know.
Keep your business in the know with the USPS Ground Advantage service. Visit USPS.com/in-the-know.
Are you ready to start feeling your absolute best? I've got the perfect solution. Stretch Zone, your destination for practitioner-assisted stretching. Whether you're an athlete looking to enhance performance or someone seeking relief from the daily grind, Stretch Zone's personalized stretching sessions cater to all levels and lifestyles. Unleash your potential. Let Stretch Zone guide you to a healthier, more flexible you. 6 area locations. Book your session today at StretchZone.com. Stretch Zone. Stretch, work, play, repeat.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them. The right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Gain Super Flings are here to take your laundry to the next level.
Talking about Gain Super Flings. Super-sized laundry packs. These things are huge. Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings laundry packs have 4 times the Oxy cleaning power and 3 times the Febreze freshness versus Gain Original Liquid.
Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings for next level laundry.
We're back in the Miller's front yard, who recently switched to True Green. Their lawn started looking like a golf course, and PGA Tour golfers started showing up. Here's one now hitting out of this lush green grass. He has to avoid that sandbox to keep his round going. Oh, into the sand. It's a toy dump truck and rolls out.
Oh, the neighbors love the action on this True Green lawn.
Get a PGA Tour quality lawn for as little as $1 a day. Sign up now at TrueGreen.com. Exclusions apply. See TrueGreen.com for details.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard.
I'm the refund tree.
Sawing off its branches.
Hey.
Feeding them through a wood chipper.
My branches! My beautiful branches!
And dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. Welcome in to the Chiefs Red Half Hour. Every day at 11:30 with Cody and Gold on your new home for Chiefs football. 96.5 The Fan.
Alex Gold, Drew Nixon with you here on Cody and Gold. Coming up in about 10 minutes, Jay Binkley going to call in, check in with him. He's been putting together his offseason and draft plan. He said, I need to tell the people. It's been a little bit. So he's going to call in the next 10 minutes or so. We're going to find out what he thinks the Chiefs should do. Plus, I just want to ask him, because I know he's already been looking, what are the chances of them actually finding a franchise left tackle in the draft, or are they going to have to go in a different direction? We'll try to learn that one together coming up in a bit. I mentioned the discussion around 3, maybe 4 trade candidates. Do the Chiefs even have a trade candidate on this roster? Because we were talking to Dusty before the show yesterday. Like, hey, is there anybody on this roster they could pull off a Tyreek Hill type of trade to get more assets? And we went through, and then we came up with like 3 names. And we're going to get to that in a second, I promise. But while we were in break, I saw Charles Omenihu, who's a free agent. He was on The Facility, which I guess is one of the newer shows there on FS1. Isn't that the one with like Sean McCoy?
Yep.
Okay.
It's got McCoy, Acho,
Chase Daniel.
Chase
Okay,
Daniel's on
that's
there.
what I thought.
Yep.
Okay, so that The Facility, they had Charles Omenihu on, not talking about just his future, which is interesting, but Travis Kelce. I mean, yesterday we spent a good chunk of the show playing the audio. You guys heard Travis Kelce very open and honest about how he is clearly considering retiring, but wants to give it some more time and got to figure out if he can be 100% for his teammates, all of that. Well, Charles Omenihu was asked about the potential retirement of Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, this would be like my message to Trav. Big dog, like, we whole organization, we can't go out like that, like, he's a Hall of Famer from the moment he says I'm done, right? So, but I think Trav has a lot left. I think Trav is an extreme competitor. I think he's somebody that loves the game. And I think in the storied career that he's had, going out like that, in my opinion, wouldn't be something that he would do. So I believe that he'll be back. I believe that he'll give it one more go. we have guys coming back on that team, that Rasheed's going to be back. So that's going to help out the offense. And I think it's the whatever holes that the team has, Coach Reed and Brent do a great job of getting on top of it real quick. They're not going to overlook anything that may have been a reason why we didn't come out on top. So it's going to be a retool, refuel, and get back to it. And we have Pat. So for a fact that you're going to be in the dance. For a fact that you're going to be in the dance.
That's facts.
So, it's all right, he's not coming back to maybe we might get to the, for a fact, they're going to be in there. And probably for a fact that you're going to be in that championship game.
I found that to be interesting for a couple of reasons. One, the way he was talking, did you hear it the same way I did the final 20 seconds? He sounds like someone that thinks he's part of this team next year. I'm not saying he can't be, but he remember, his contract is up. This was the final year of his deal. He was on that 2-year deal. He wanted a new deal after last year. He got the ACL injury and they didn't do it, but he was like, hey, I want a deal. Remember, you could tell on social media. He's very outspoken on social media. You kind of can tell how he's feeling pretty easily. And Charles Omenihu, who has been really, really good for this team the last 2 years. There's no doubt about that. And somebody's going to pay him. He's only 28 years old. So I think the Chiefs should be very interested in bringing him back. But right now he's not under contract. So I thought that way he answered that, even almost in his own way, was interesting. He sure sounds like someone we're going to be in it. He was talking like he thinks he's a part of the team. Now maybe that's just hey, that's how you've been talking for 2 years, so it's hard to now talk as if you're not part of the team. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm reading too much into it. As far as the Travis Kelce part, that's kind of what we mentioned just yesterday. Do you want to go out like that or not? He said, quote, "We can't go out like that," is what Omenihu said in regards to Travis Kelce retiring. I think that is probably part of what the decision-making process is. I think you could tell from the audio yesterday, Travis Kelce is in the middle of I don't want to let my teammates down by not playing with them, but I also don't know, can I be there? Am I going to be able to be 100% there? And I think that's a little bit of the weighing. Am I willing to take on this different role? I don't think the different role thing is as problematic for Kelce, because I would argue going into this season, he maybe already had an idea the role was going to be a little bit different. They gave an extension to Noah Gray. Rashee Rice was the guy the first 4 weeks, because he got hurt in week 4 against the Chargers, where they were starting to make the offense run through him anyway. So I actually don't think he has to be able to tell himself that he's not going to be the dude anymore in the offense. I actually think that was already going to happen this year. It's just ultimately with the injury, he had to be. He ended up having a ridiculous amount of targets this year. There's no way that can happen. I think there's so many different levels to this for Kelce, but hearing Charles Omenihu say that, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people are saying, which is is that how you want to go out? That's your last game?
I think that's what he's got to wrestle with, because if you're a teammate of his, of course, it's come on, man. There's no way that you can leave on that sort of a note. And then, he has his own personal feeling about the whole thing where he was open about it. He knows how he felt in the middle of the season. Not to say it's going to get any better, but who's to say it doesn't come back again, where you're in the middle of the season and you're like, man, this sucks right now. Even though we might be winning, even though we might be playing well, I'm just not. It's really difficult for me to be able to get through an entire week of practice, get through the game, and feel ready to go by the time the next game comes around. And I mean, if something happens, and he's got to be relied on again, because again, Rasheed's going to be back, but we don't know how many games he's going to be out for. So Travis is going to be a part of the offense again for at least the first half of the season in a substantial enough capacity, I feel like, because Rasheed's not going to be playing because he'll be suspended in all likelihood. So he has to wrestle with, with those thoughts. I do think even more after hearing Charles's thoughts and just thinking about it, I think the fact that Jason retired and knowing they went back again, and I wonder if Jason really was like, man, I really do wish I would have come back. I think that I think Jason is going to be the ultimate decider for Travis. Let me talk to my brother.
Well, I mean, Travis will be the ultimate decider.
Well, I know, but in terms of the last person that he's, in my mind, that he would talk to about this and base his opinion off of is his brother. One, because they're already close enough. Two, because he was just in this same sort of scenario where the team that he was on just won again. What was Jason's body feeling? Is there any extra that you can do during the offseason to prepare yourself for the season? Is there any extra investment you need to take on your body to make sure that you are able to last through the entire season? All those little things will take a big part in his decision.
The other part of Minnie who got me thinking, just listening to him talk about basically and almost like he is on the team still, and maybe that's just, as I said, I'm reading too much into it. I looked at contract projections, like what would it take to even bring back Charles Omenihu, who, as I said, is 28 for next season. Spot Track, it doesn't mean they're 100% accurate, but they're one of the best, if not the best out there in contract projections, Mike Giannetti and his staff. They project $11.8 million annual average for a Charles Omenihu deal. And I don't know if that's off. I don't know if that's right. Is that over 2 years? So a 3-year deal, but it's really 2, something like that. Would you be interested in doing that? I just wonder where's the pass rush without Omenihu. You got Karlaftis. Felix still hasn't developed the way they hoped. Chris Jones, of course, is back. Mike Dan is back. There's no Turk Warden unless he comes back on a deal. I think between Omenihu and Turk Warden, one of those guys is probably back. Maybe they also draft somebody. Well, we all agree the resources should start to be devoted more towards the offense again, most notably left tackle, but wide receiver or an explosive running back, for example. Like that's all true. But you also can't have zero pass rush. And Charles Omenihu, who missed the bulk of the season due to the ACL injury, now will have a full, healthy offseason. And he came back, and even though he wasn't 100%, as he said, the film didn't lie. The film didn't look like I wasn't 100%. I would be very interested, of course, at the right price, like most of these things, in bringing Charles Omenihu back because he's now going to have a full, healthy offseason. I still think there's plenty out there, and he could be a big help. Imagine Charles Omenihu for a full season in year 3 in Spags' system. So that'll be another name to keep an eye on as we get close to the league year as well. All right, I want to go out to the hotline and welcome in our guy, Jay Binkley. I know the Character Concerns podcasts are going to start really rolling out as we get closer and closer to the draft. But, Bink, you said, hey, man, I got an off-season plan. I got a draft plan. I need to tell the people. What's going on, man?
What's going on, Alex? I guess it's time we start looking forward instead of backwards, correct? Just kind of
no doubt
wipe the slate clean with this past season and think, all right, what does this team need to do to get back to exactly where they were? Because to be honest with you, I don't see a ton of challengers right now in the AFC because there's a lot of people still doing a lot of work trying to find that quarterback, and the Chiefs have that at least.
What is let me start, doesn't have to be draft yet, but I'm sure it's just part of the equation when I mention offseason. What is Jay Binkley's, you've compiled, what's your offseason plan? How are you fixing the issues, and what issues have to be fixed?
I'm fixing left tackle. That's the thing right there. And I'm not sold that you can get somebody, obviously, at 31, at 30 or at 31 for the left tackle draft, because that's what last year people were screaming for. They wanted that left tackle at that position, and even there was a lot of talks. People wanted Kingsley Suamatia at pick 31, but that was kind of out of the equation. And obviously Xavier Worthy helped this team out a ton more than that, but they're going to have to go free agent. You know, whether it's Cam Robinson, whether it's Ronnie Stanley, they're going to have to bring in a left tackle. I mean, that is a necessity. That is number one on the list. To me, that's even more important, bringing back a Nick Bolton, even considering that. And to be honest with you, that's even more important than Trey Smith, to be honest.
So, okay, let's go a little bit through that, starting with Trey Smith. I don't believe he's coming back. Not that I don't think he can help this team. I just think financially, with some of the other issues you laid out, I don't believe that they can pull that off. Yes, ultimately, we know the salary cap can be maneuvered. Like, if they are 100% dead set on bringing him back, they can do that. But is that the position I want to really lean 100% into with all the other areas that I need to address? And so Trey Smith, to me, would not be on my priority list to sign. I got to make my decision very quickly so I know. But where are you at on him and the likelihood that he's in a Chiefs uniform?
Yeah, I don't think it's real likely. I mean, you remember 2 years ago, or back when Tyreek Hill, the wide receivers kind of set the market. Last year was about the guards. Last year, the way the guards got paid, they really, kind of reset that market. And Trey Smith, I mean, no matter where you look, I mean, he's considered a top 2 or 3 free agent in this year's class. So that would cost you a lot of money. But again, that's interior offensive line. And, you can get by it. I mean, it's not great. Obviously, I like Trey Smith. Mick the dude is awesome. Loved him with the Kansas City Chiefs. But you got to make business decisions when you give your quarterback the top cap money of any team that's ever won a Super Bowl with the cap money. It was the highest. So I'd prioritize left tackle, to be honest with you. I don't think Trey Smith comes back. I'd love to have him back, but he's going to have decisions to make. And the way he looks at it, okay, he's got 2 Super Bowl rings. It's time now to get the bag, right? I mean, a lot of guys, their quest is to get a Super Bowl ring. He's got 2 of them. So what's really to keep him here? He's not going to be here for goodwill and charity. It's about, what are you going to pay me?
We're talking to Jay Binkley. He's joining us here on Cody and Gold. You mentioned at 31, and I agree with you. We've talked about this for a couple of years. Like, getting a left tackle at 31 is very difficult. How does this year's draft class, I know the combine hasn't happened, how does it stack up, left tackle-wise? Because as I said, hey, look, I'm okay with trading multiple picks and it's going to take multiple picks at least to get to, let's say, 12 or 15 when you're trying to go from 31. Is this the year to do that? I know the need is there, but is the player there, not just is he a top 15 pick because it's the 2025 draft, a player that truly is a top 15 pick in the draft? How do you view the class at that position this year?
It's not wild. Last year you saw 8 tackles go in the first round. That was a record. The previous record, 7 on that. I mean, there's some difference makers, I think. I mean, guys that could start this year, Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, a couple of guys there that I think could start this year, but not wild about it. Again, you're asking a rookie to go in there. And I get it. The Chiefs are in a different spot. Last year was clearly different because the team had an opportunity to three-peat, so I guess they have to evaluate their season a little bit differently than that. But if they think they still have a lot of the core and Chris Jones and companies here, and this team can make a run next year, and you're still dealing with Patrick Mahomes right at, well, he'll be 30 years old when during next season. But will that be enough for the Kansas City Chiefs to prioritize? If they think they can deal with a rookie left tackle, I wouldn't trust that. I think they'd be much better off getting it through free agency, because last year they trusted Kingsley and that didn't work out.
So the free agency part, you mentioned one of the names, Ronnie Stanley. The concern there is he's, 31, 32, and he's coming off a season where he did play 17 games, but prior to that it was 2 or 3 straight years of playing fewer than 10 or 11 games. That's the concern. He's a free agent, and will be a free agent for a reason, and most people think the Ravens are going to move on from him. Is that really the best path? Is that really the only true realistic option? Because that's not a long-term solution, and that doesn't come without plenty of risk.
It's not a long-term solution at all, but right now I would more trust free agents for offensive tackle than going ahead and drafting one, unless you're going to move up. Unless you're going to move up to, gosh, you need to at least be 10 to 15 to trade up, and then are you willing to do it? You get your quarterback at number 10, are you willing to trade up your left tackle at that point? But yes, Ronnie Stanley's older, Cam Robinson, another name, Tyron Smith with the Jets, I wouldn't mess with that one. Dan Moore of the Steelers wouldn't mess with that one either. But there's a few guys I would consider if I was the Chiefs. But they got to bulk up this offensive line. That's the question. I mean, yes, last year they got a few more offensive guys, throwing in Jared Wiley at tight end and things like that. But, man, this draft has been so concentrated on getting defensive players in this draft. It's time to bulk up the offense, man. And, I've been set on going downfield, but you can't go downfield unless you have the protection to do it. You can't have the quarterback sit down there, but you got to be able to go downfield. The Chiefs have got to get back to what got them there. But that's protecting the offensive line. And the way I've always viewed it is you're going to have one time in history to have a quarterback like this. Now, you could get lucky, I guess, and get another quarterback that's going to win at least 3 Super Bowls. I don't know. I will remind people Tom Brady was 3-2 in his first 5 Super Bowls. He lost.
No, Bink, you missed the memo. He's done, right? He can't do it anymore. Yeah. It's already over. You missed the memo on that
Rob
one.
Parker said he was done. Like Mahomes, he said he was done in 2012 when he was 35. People said he was done in 2017 when he was hammered by the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. And since that day where everybody said he's washed and Bill Belichick goes on to Cincinnati, he went to 5 Super Bowls and won 4 of them after that. But he started off 3-2 and didn't win his third one or his fourth one. Excuse me, till he was 37 years old. But you're going to have Mahomes. Will New England ever have a quarterback as good as Brady? No. Will Kansas City ever have a quarterback as good as Mahomes? Chances are no. That's a 99% chance no. They're not going to have anybody better. So take advantage when you have that guy. And in their 30s, guys in their 30s, primes. I mean, there's been great seasons by quarterbacks in their 30s. You're really getting the prime of Patrick Mahomes at this time. Matter of fact, Steve Young built a Hall of Fame career. He was behind Montana basically in his 30s. All his numbers he put up basically were when he was in his 30s and what he was able to do. So the prime is coming now. I'm doing everything I can with one guy in mind, and that's Patrick Mahomes. We have the quarterback now. We don't need this guy doing the offense last year, throwing short, 5 yards, 10 yards, running, going down the field. Patrick Mahomes is a downfield thrower, and that's what they need to get back to. And if it's protecting on the offensive line, that should be the first priority. Not sure you're going to see that in the first round unless you trade down to do it, but defensive line remains very important for the Kansas City Chiefs. First round, in my opinion, defensive line. Tight end is going to be tough. There's two of them that I would really consider moving down for, and that's Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren, but I don't think they're going to be in position to get those guys. Tyler Warren, I think, is by far the best tight end in the draft. Brock Bowers light. I think Brock Bowers obviously better. That's the guy that clearly won it last year, but it didn't happen. But Tyler Warren, or you draft another one. I wouldn't mess with the running back until the third round. And unfortunately, they have the not the first pick in the third round, but the second pick. I've heard a lot of they got the first pick in the third round. It's not the first pick; it's the second.
Yeah, let me ask you this before we let you go, Bink. We appreciate Jay Binkley calling in, getting his thoughts, early thoughts on the offseason and potentially the draft. I know I'm not the only one that has thought this, because plenty of people have started to look at this offense and realize that they need more explosiveness. That's pretty obvious. What about from the running back position? Isaiah Pacheco is going to be on this team next year. He's going to play for this team next year. But the draft, to me, this year, not a first-round pick, but I'm fine with them spending a top 100 pick, even if that's what it takes on an explosive running back. Is that possible? Is the personnel there?
You know, this is a very strong running back draft. Matter of fact, it's probably one of the strongest positions. That, defensive line, and tight end, the positions the Chiefs really need in this draft, but the running back position is going to be extremely good this year. I don't think you have to go in the first round, and I know people don't get totally enamored by the running back. I understand they're making a resurgence.
Yeah.
Like NFL Network was doing, the resurgence of the running back because of Derrick Henry. Well, Derrick Henry didn't put a ring on this year. Saquon Barkley averaged 2.3 yards a carry in the Super Bowl. Yes, he was good in the passing game, but don't be totally enamored and think this league is turning into a running back league. As much as I like running backs, and I used to be 100% on it, but you have to be realistic. The one thing about Pacheco that I never got, he ran a 4.37 at the combine. Like that home run speed was there. Like dude was extremely fast. That 4.37 is what enamored the Chiefs. But yeah, you're gonna have guys there sitting in the third, maybe like an Ollie Gordon. I think Keyshawn Judkins probably be gone by that point. Travion Henderson probably in the second. Maybe not. Maybe they don't go to the third round, but definitely running back is plentiful this year.
Jay Binkley, appreciate it, man. I know there's a chance you might be filling in tomorrow. If not, we'll catch you.
I'll be there tomorrow.
You're in. That's it. Okay. There you heard it from the man himself. So tomorrow, Drew and Bink will be in studio, and I'm sure you guys will hit on the draft. I said, Bink, it's too early for Cody and I to do a little mock draft sounder, but look, you guys are hosting tomorrow, so you know what? If you got to pull out a mock draft sounder, you go for it.
We'll do it, brother. We'll do it because there has been plenty out there.
All right, there you go. That's Jay Binkley. Great insight as always. We had to talk to him about the draft a little bit. We had to do that. He said I got an off-season plan. I know people get nervous about the running back thing. I definitely don't want them taking one in the first round. But if you told me it's, they got multiple top 100 picks, they had to spend like their third round pick, the higher third round pick on a running back. If it's somebody that we just mentioned, like a Travion Henderson falls to that or something, I would not hate that pick. I am not 100% don't draft a running back in the first 100. Not a first rounder though. They don't need to do that. They either need to draft a tackle with that pick or package that pick for somebody else or whatever it takes. But a running back, they got to get more explosive at the running back spot. No doubt about that. Coming up next, we're going to get to what's trending here on Cody and Gold, and we'll also be joined by Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver. We'll put a bow on this season, kind of what this season meant for him, and look ahead to the future a bit as well. Plus, one thing could impact so many of you. As long as it's fixed by the middle of March, I'll be fine, but I'm getting a little nervous. I'll tell you what that is next.
This is Cody and Gold. on your new home for Royals baseball. 96.5 The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Men, this is Jeff for Heartland Men's Health. And though I generally talk about medicine and effective treatments for erectile dysfunction and other men's sexual health issues, today I want to talk about love. Because love is the best reason to get treated for your ED. You see, ED can cause major relationship issues. In fact, men often push their partners away when ED becomes a problem. The condition can cause depression, arguments, breakups, and even contribute to divorce. But the good news is that if you're like most men suffering with ED, you can be successfully treated at Heartland Men's Health and put a stop to the relationship stresses that ED can cause. I say this with all confidence because we have treatments that are effective in well over 90% of cases. Truly, it's likely you'll find you're performing like you haven't in years. So make an appointment and get the love back in your life. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes blood work, a medical consult, and if medically advised, a test dose. And if that test dose doesn't work in the office, your visit is free. Call 844-447-6600 or go to heartlandmenshealth.com. We have 3 offices: Overland Park, Independence, and North Kansas City.
Hey, KC, when I discovered my new passion, I dove into social media, got on some shows, and soon almost Andy Reid was bored. But this winter, there's something new you might discover that's not as great. Issues with your garage door. Don't get stuck in the cold. Get your annual maintenance check for just $100 or a free replacement quote from my friends at Renner Garage Door. They carry top brands like Delden, Amar, and LiftMaster, trusted locally since 1956.
RENNER, RENNER.
Has your home been on the market without success? An expired listing can feel frustrating, but it doesn't have to be the end of your journey. The Sharp Homes team specializes in turning things around. Contact my friend Dawn Sharp if you're looking to buy or sell a home. Dawn and her team are brokered by Epic Realty, and they've sold over 150 homes in the last 12 months alone. Plus, they can give you options. If you want to skip the showings and open houses and go straight to sold, you can do that with their instant offer program. Google them at Sharp Homes Team or visit them at homesforsaleinkc.com.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Winter is more than half over, and things are looking up. But before we start thinking about spring lawn care, I'd like to ask you to look up at your trees. This is Larry Ryan at Ryan Lawn and Tree. And right now, before the leaves fill in, is a great time to find and take care of old storm damage, remove dead branches, and carefully prune trees for better growth and storm resilience. Now is also when you can save 15% with our winter rates. Our team of master pruners and certified arborists is unmatched in both skill and care. And at Ryan Lawn and Tree, they're also employee owners. You're not just a customer, you're their customer. I think you'll be impressed with the difference that makes. So will your valuable trees. Take advantage of our winter rates and enjoy 15% off all tree services when you book before March 1st. Call today or book online at ryanlawn.com/tree.
I'm at the movies, asking people if they'll switch seats with me for $574.
Here, take mine.
So what about $574 if you switch your home insurance to Allstate?
Too much work.
Not if you call them. They handle the switching.
Now, that's a plot twist.
Shh. Check Allstate first, and you could save hundreds on quality home insurance today. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Not available in every state. Based on the national average annual savings for new home insurance customers surveyed in 2023 who switched to Allstate and reported savings. Savings vary.
Are you 50 or older? This news is for you. The CDC now recommends you get vaccinated against pneumococcal pneumonia. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at risk. People 50 or older are over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia compared to adults 18 to 49. Just one shot can help protect you. Learn more and schedule at vaxassist.com. That's VAXassist.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like discovering a refund tree has grown in your backyard,
I'm the refund tree.
sawing off its branches,
Hey,
feeding them through a wood chipper,
my branches! My beautiful branches!
and dancing in its refund rain. Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Lowe's knows that free is just better. That's why MyLowe's Rewards is free to join. As a member, you earn points towards MyLowe's money on eligible purchases, get exclusive free gifts, and earn free shipping at Silver Key status, all on top of weekly member-only deals. Don't wait. Join MyLowe's Rewards for free today and start saving more. Lowe's, we help, you save. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
This is the all-new 96.5 The Fan, your new home for Royals baseball. KFNZ FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, an Odyssey sports station. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Well, the top story in the NFL today, the Jets have officially informed Aaron Rodgers they are moving on from him. This was expected over the last 48 hours or so with some of the reporting about Aaron Glenn, the new Jets head coach, presenting Aaron Rodgers, hey, if you want to stick around, these are some of the demands that we have for you. And the one that got a lot of traction was that he's wouldn't have been allowed to go on the Pat McAfee show weekly and things like that. Ultimately, look, Aaron Rodgers just simply wasn't good enough there in New York. 5 wins, $75 million, talked him into signing Alan Lazard, trading a third-round pick and paying $11 million to Devontae Adams. Aaron Rodgers, $75 million. There's still going to be a lot of dead cap moving forward, but the Jets' Aaron Rodgers era is officially over there in New York. Next up on What's Trending, Alex Bregman to the Red Sox. That was reported late last night. Numerous outlets, including from Jeff Passan. 3 years, $120 million. Now, there's opt-outs after each season, so that's something to keep in mind
nice.
there. Yeah, not a bad deal. Look, if Alex Bregman goes out and has a really, really nice season, for Boston, he can opt out and he still can go get an even bigger deal next offseason. But he ends up with the Boston Red Sox. Of course, the Astros were in play. The Detroit Tigers reportedly one of the finalists. So for the Royals' sake, I'm glad he signed with the Red Sox, not with the Detroit Tigers, who, of course, will be battling in the AL Central. We'll actually talk some Royals baseball in the 1 o'clock hour today. A little general look at the Royals. With football over, I got to figure out where else to focus my betting attention on. We'll look at some of the futures markets out there already for the Royals coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. Next on What's Trending, the Chiefs are expected to hire Matt House as a senior defensive assistant, according to CBS Sports. That name sounds familiar. That's because he was with the team when they won a Super Bowl back in 2019. Then he went to LSU as their defensive coordinator for a couple of years, did not go all that great defensively. Last year, he was with the Jags, so he's now back in Kansas City, reportedly, as a senior defensive assistant.
I saw something, too, that the Chiefs might be hiring Zach Chris Orr, from Jackson State.
That was also reported by CBS. Yeah, I saw that. Somebody that'll join the defensive staff. Elsewhere, local college basketball last night, the Missouri Tigers boat raced Oklahoma 82-58 to improve to 18-6 on the season. Next up, contest Saturday at Georgia. And lastly, on What's Trending, I'll let you handle this one. I don't know how significant this is or not. I don't know if you saw what I put in there for the last one. This is right up your alley.
I saw that and I smiled as soon as I saw it. And
I figured you'd like this.
Chase Briscoe on the pole for the Daytona 500. Austin Cindric also starting in the front row. So their positions are set. Tonight we got the duels to set the field. So the field is not official, just the first 2 spots. As is tradition with the Daytona 500, qualifying only sets the front row. And then after that, the duels figure the rest of it out. There's 9 cars vying for 5 spots in the 500 tonight. So there's some teams that just aren't going to make it.
Are you watching?
Oh, of course.
Are you pumped for this? Look, I know the Daytona 500.
I nerd out, man, with NASCAR. I nerd out. I watched as much as I can.
That's your thing. I know. That's why I said, you know what? Normally we wouldn't have put a NASCAR thing probably unless it was the local races coming up in May at Kansas Speedway. But you know what? It's the Daytona 500, and I knew you would have some insight. I saw that come across my
NASCAR Super Bowl.
Okay, well, it is. It absolutely. Have you been to Daytona 500? You lived in Florida.
I've been to Daytona. I've toured it and everything like that. Never been to the actual Daytona 500 before. That is a bucket list thing for sure.
And then the race of the Speedway, like May 10th or something, May 11th, something like that, I think?
Yeah, they get 2 of them this year, May and then May 11th, I think September 28th.
Okay.
That sounds about right.
I know you'll be going. I know you'll be going to those.
I will.
So, but yes, I did see that come across. And that'll be, what is it, like Sunday at like 1 o'clock or something? The Daytona 500?
Yes, 1:30.
1:30. Okay. I'm guessing that's on Fox or something like that. I don't know. Not familiar with how that works. Who's winning? Tell me. I need some advice before you call. Oh, you're calling Danan. That's my fault.
Ryan Blaney, baby.
That's your guy. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna look that up. You tell me. This is all gonna be on you here. I need to lean on you.
Go ahead and place a bet.
If people are looking for their auto racing advice, that's where Drew Nexon comes in. I was trying to see what the odds are for him. I can't find it on my racing. There we go. I was trying to see where your guy is. He supposed to win this thing? Oh, I'll work on that. I clicked on horse racing, unfortunately, not auto racing. So I do not have that right in front of me. There we go. Motorsport. Excuse me. That's how they list it. He has the fifth best odds. Fifth best odds. Ryan Blaney, 13-1. All right. If it doesn't hit, it's on you. It's your fault. If it doesn't actually hit. Let's get back to some NFL here in a little bit. We're expected to have Danan Hughes join us. But before Bink was on, we were going to talk about, are there any actual trade candidates on this roster? And how this conversation came to be before our show, we sit in the area we call the bullpen. You guys have heard us reference that. And Dusty came out yesterday and was like, hey, what do you guys think of possible trade candidates? And the names he brought up were Trent McDuffie and Chris Jones and Rashee Rice. And I said, Trent McDuffie's a non-starter for me. Nope. Not moving on from him. I'm giving him a deal this offseason. He's a top 2-3 corner in football. He's going to be part of this core for the next run here that the Chiefs hopefully go on over the next 5 to 7 years. No. Trent McDuffie's a non-starter. Admittedly, they could get the most for him, but that's a non-starter. No, can't pull off the Tyreek Hill type of trade for him. Not doing that. The thought of this was, hey, do they need to go acquire more draft picks? And I always believe more draft picks for Brett Veach is obviously a very good thing. The other one was Rashee Rice. My answer on that was no, because I don't think his value is great right now in the trade market, considering he barely played this year. He's coming off injury, and we all think there's a looming suspension on the way. Plus, for the Chiefs' sake, I want to take advantage of that rookie contract. I want to take advantage of the fact that he's not making much money. Then the third name, Chris Jones. This one I said I'll at least have a convo about. I would still not trade him, but because I'm like, who's rushing the passer? Who's left? If Chris Jones was out of the equation, it's Karl Loftus, it's Mike Dana, and Felix Anudike-Uzomah under contract. And you could say, well, they'll bring back Charles Omenihu. I would like that anyway. But that leaves way too big of a hole. The only reason why I would at least hear you out on Chris Jones is the contract and the age. But that would be, and I still think it's a bit crazy. Because this is not, as I said earlier, the NBA. You don't trade player for player. Like it's not, you don't trade Chris Jones and say, I'm going to trade him and I'm going to get my left tackle directly. That's not how this thing works. Okay, you say, well, I'll get draft picks. I'm not so sure you're going to get as much as you think. But he does have value. He's making $34.8 million cap hit. Chris Jones will have next year at age 31. In 2026, he'll be 32. It's a $41.1 million cap hit. Then there's a potential out in the deal in 2027. That's the contract situation for Chris Jones. And then none of us ever expect the final year to play out anyway. When he's 34, it's another $41.1 million cap hit. But he's the only name we could even have a convo about. Otherwise, I don't think there's anybody on this roster you can flip for a trade. The tag and trade Trey Smith thing doesn't make a whole lot of sense because then his value is shot, right? Like you look at Trey Smith's franchise tag. One, that's a cap number you have to hold till you moved him. And if I'm an opposing team, I'm going to give up draft capital and then go make him the highest paid guard in football. I think we learned last year with the L'Jarius Sneed trade. You're never getting back as much as like fans and we all think you're going to get back for a current player. The value is just not there. Unless you're talking about franchise quarterbacks, you never get back what you think you really should for a player draft-wise. And I think now in hindsight, we all know the Chiefs came out great in the Sneed trade. They got what is now a top third-round pick. And unfortunately for L'Jarius Sneed, he didn't stay healthy. He barely played for Tennessee. Fortunately, he got paid, but he wasn't able to stay healthy. So someone that might have a perspective on this as well is our next guest, Danan Hughes. Put a bow on this 2024-2025 season. former Chiefs wide receiver. You heard him throughout the year calling games right here on 96.5 The Fan. He's presented by Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Kansas City. Danan, good to hear from you, man. I guess I'll piggyback off the convo I was just having and go from there. Do you think that there's a big move trade-wise on the horizon for the Chiefs this offseason? Because I just don't think the three names that people have brought up are all that realistic.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the Chiefs are one of the more active teams in recognizing how to fill in gaps and how to fill in for talent. And I think you guys have talked about it, and it's been talked about since the Super Bowl in regards to, when we had that experience, the terrible experience in Tampa, we immediately addressed it with the offensive line. And then, that's kind of where we are, and that's where we have the whole Brett Veach and Brett Veach we trust, is because we recognize that when needs were needed, I guess you can say, we went out and addressed them immediately because we've set the standard. The standard of this organization and the bar has been set so high over the past 7+ years that it's only fitting that we're able to address what we need to address when we address it. And so I don't know if there's a specific target that's out there. I know there's going to be speculation throughout the rest of this offseason, especially up until the draft. But what I do know is that we have had a scouting department, a general manager, and coaches and everyone else that's involved in the day-to-days and bringing in talent that has brought us to the Super Bowls that we've had, 7 straight AFC championships, the successes even before that, wins in the playoffs after 20+ years of a drought. So I feel like as a fan base, you're always anxious to get better, especially after the experience down in New Orleans. You want to get better yesterday, and that's just not the case. It's going to be a process, but I'm sure, I don't think because we lost the way we lost in New Orleans that we should just vacate the whole "in Brett Veach we trust." He hasn't done anything to dissuade us and make us feel like we're going to take a step back or we're going to be rebuilding like many other teams. So I feel like whatever decisions he's going to make with the draft or free agency, it'll definitely be an asset.
It's been interesting. Maybe crazy is a better word to describe some of the reaction to the loss. And just it's devastating, but also they're not suddenly just a terrible team and terrible organization just because of one loss. And there's holes to fix, as you said. There's areas I think we all know what one or two of them obviously are moving forward. And whether they lost by 3 points, won by 3 points, I think we would all still be sitting here today saying left tackle is priority number one. That didn't suddenly change just because of Sunday. That was something we already knew.
Absolutely. And the question surrounding that decision is, you went to an early draft pick in Wanye Morris. You went back to an early draft pick in Kingsley. Do you go back to that well again, hoping to strike gold for a left tackle in the draft? You go basically 3 straight drafts and drafting somebody that you thought could be that person, or do you tap into free agency, or do you say that, okay, DJ Humphries, we're giving you a full off season to work your way into shape, into this offense, to garner the respect and trust of Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and everyone else. And then we'll see what we have in the draft, maybe a later draft, or picking up somebody in free agency that it wouldn't cost a pretty penny to get. I think those are the decisions that you have to make. I thought it was encouraging when we heard that Kingsley was possibly moving to a guard position, maybe to a right tackle, who knows, but at some point you just can't not strike well in the draft at that position and then just, Wanye Morris was inactive. You just go away from those guys and say that, we've seen what we've seen and they're just not going to be able to be viable forces at that position. I mean, they're first and second year guys. So to think that their careers are over or that we've seen the best of them, maybe not. There's more people over there at the facility that might believe that their development can still grow. So that's one aspect that I'm going to be looking at throughout this offseason and listening Two is, what's the development process for these guys, because we just can't continue to have second and third round picks not be able to contribute.
We're talking to Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver, here on 96.5 The Fan. This season as a whole, what surprised you, maybe in a good way? Was there anything in a 15-2 campaign that led them to the Super Bowl in 4 quarters away from a three-peat that surprised you, other than the way it went down on Sunday?
I thought that the offense, when we were clicking and what we saw towards the end of the season, was definitely encouraging, especially without Rashee Rice. And all I kept thinking about during most of the season was, wow, look at Xavier Worthy, what they've been able to utilize, how they've been able to utilize him, all the aspects of the offense that he's absorbed shows that he's a smart individual. That's first and foremost. We already know about his prowess and his speed and his ability on the field, but the fact that as a rookie, they threw more of the playbook at him than maybe you could even say they threw at Rashee Rice or any other rookie receivers that we've had in the past. So I thought that was encouraging. And then to think with both of those guys on the field at the same time, what's this offense really going to look like? So when you talk about takeaways from this season, that's one that really jumps out to me, is what we have in store and doing what teams didn't do. The first team that I always think of is the Green Bay Packers when they had Aaron Rodgers in his prime. They always seem to make decisions to not go first or second round with receivers because they felt like he's a good enough quarterback that they can fill in around him with receivers and he'll make them better. And they only won 1 Super Bowl. We're an organization that seems to go the opposite way, that we have the best quarterback in the game. And guess what? We're going to continue to populate his weapons at the wide receiver position early rounds, and whether they strike gold or not, we're going to keep feeding that. And I like that, especially as a former wide receiver. So that's the number one thing that jumps out to me, is what this offense can be when a healthy, eligible Rashee Rice, after suspension and his rehab, what he's going to add to this offense, especially if we're able to sign Hollywood Brown for a long term as well.
I know overall roster construction-wise, they're actually one of the younger teams in the league. But offensively and at the wide receiver position, when Rice wasn't out there, because of the circumstances this year, there's a lot of people, and I'm one of them, that think they were a little old and slow in some areas. That's weird to say when Worthy's on the field, but based off of Juju and DeAndre Hopkins and some of the other, Travis Kelce, some of the other pieces, do you think that they still need to get younger on offense, though, even though the roster as a whole is young?
I don't think so. I mean, I think sometimes when you talk about getting younger, it's overcooked.
Okay.
The fact is that you are in a window where we are expecting greatness, and whatever players can play during this window, you got to take advantage of that. And if you need a mid-level guy, I'm not talking about having a roster full of 30-plus-year-old guys, but mid-20s, mid to later 20s that have had the experience, that not only have had the negative experiences, but also been part of some of the greatness that we've shown. Like, I want those guys on this team. I want some of these guys to return that they got the bitter taste in their mouth of getting blown out in this Super Bowl against the Eagles. I want those guys back, because that adversity could propel them to different levels than just going to get younger at a specific position.
Before we let you go, I'm sure you heard Travis Kelce's comments yesterday from the New Heights podcast, and we played some audio of Charles Omenihu as well, talking about Kelce's future. You played in this league. You were around Tony Gonzalez. You were around other players that eventually at some point in time also had to make the tough decision. So what did you take from those comments? It sounds like he's contemplating retirement, but do you think a couple weeks from now maybe things, your body feels a little bit better and maybe you have a different decision?
Absolutely. I think it's just that, is that first of all, you're feeling down because it wasn't just a loss, it was a debilitating loss, an embarrassing loss. And when you were shooting for history, like, I think the humanity, the human level, misses a lot of the fan base, misses a lot of the media in regards to these players are not robots, they're not machines. You put all your heart and soul, all your emotion, the pain, and everything into a certain goal. At this point, it was such a lofty goal. No one's ever done it before. And then to think in your mid-30s like Travis is, the records that he's broken, the things that he's accomplished, the great things he has going on off the field, like for anybody that's out there that's criticizing him, and you guys aren't, I know you aren't, but anybody that's criticizing his wanting to just take a step back and think and relax and let me get my body, back to normal. Let me get my mind back to normal. Let me get out of my depression or slight depression based on what we experienced last week. Like, let me just simmer just a bit and then get that fire back in me to go back into the weight room, to go back into rehabbing whatever injuries, to go back to the grind that's necessary for me to put forth another winning performance that will get us to the promised land. So at this point, if you'd have told me that he's having these conversations or he makes that statement 4 months from now, that would be concerning. But right after the Super Bowl and the way we lost, I'm not surprised at all, and I think he's garnered enough credit that he can take as much time as he needs to get his mind right.
Danan Hughes, former Chiefs wide receiver, enjoy a little bit of time off, although I'm guessing you'll be doing some college baseball stuff here before we know it, too. So I appreciate you coming on throughout the season, man.
Appreciate you guys, man. It's been a fun season, as it has been each year, so I'm looking forward to continuing with you guys next year. I got my last Players Only show tonight.
There we go.
So we'll be able to knock out a few things, maybe a couple of controversial topics that we'll have during the show as well. So the phone lines and text lines will be open for that as well, and we'll go out with a bang.
There you go. There's a tease for you. There you go. 6 o'clock tonight. Danan Hughes will be hosting Players Only right here on 96.5 The Fan. Yeah, I think if you were nervous about the audio yesterday, maybe that made you feel a little bit better hearing Danan kind of explain the timeline difference. You say if Kelsey sounds like that a month from now or 3 months from now, it's a different story versus the audio we heard yesterday, which was still at that point, 96 hours or something like that after a devastating loss in the Super Bowl. Coming up in about 8 minutes, think of the Super Bowl. We'll talk more about rings for the next decade and just the way people are talking about Mahomes for the next 10 years compared to Brady. And if you buy into those theories, I want to ask you one question about who's actually getting those rings. That's coming up in a bit. But something that impacts, I think, I don't want to say a majority of the audience, but there's a good chunk of you. I think, Drew, you're a YouTube TV guy. I'm a YouTube TV guy. By now you might have seen the news that, and I think it just went into effect, we got another one of these little carriage disputes out there, which could impact something that next month simply cannot impact, which is why I think they'll figure this thing out. But several channels owned by Paramount, including CBS, Comedy Central, MTV, etc., are going to soon disappear from YouTube TV today. And I think it just happened, actually.
I think it did as well, yes.
If the two companies don't reach a contract renewal, we've all seen this stuff play out before, right? Like the consumers who get screwed in this thing, and maybe it lasts for 3 days, maybe it lasts for 2 weeks, maybe it lasts for a month. Ultimately, they're going to come up with an adjustment in the rate that the provider has to pay to the content creator, yada, yada. We know what the end game looks like.
Considering we just got an uptick in payment for YouTube TV, by the way.
Now, they did say, they being YouTube TV, said subscribers of YouTube TV can get an $8 credit on its website if the channels are unavailable for an extended period of time. They're also telling people to then sign up for Paramount Plus to keep watching. So they're telling you to sign up for this other service while also, I guess, giving you an $8 credit saying use that credit to buy that. But as you pointed out, the dispute is a month after they already raised their basic package by $10 to $82.99. They have 8 million subscribers as of last month, I guess, for YouTube TV, and I am one of them. I think a lot of you are subscribers. This is simple for me. One, it's annoying the consumer gets screwed. We've seen these carriage disputes, whether it was DirecTV arguing with Disney, a couple months ago.
That was the one that I was thinking of.
That was the big one and why it impacted college football games.
Yeah, they lost ESPN.
Next month, I don't have to tell you guys what next month is. Right around this time, March 15th, give or take. March Madness.
The 4 boxes, the 4 screens.
What channel are those games on? Now, some of them are on Turner, but CBS is the host, essentially.
The national title.
That's definitely the national title. And I know you can use your bunny ears, right, or your indoor antenna and still get CBS, but come on now. That's why I'm guessing they're smart enough to get this resolved, but that's the one thing. This has to be resolved by then. It can be out for the next 3.5 weeks. That part, I don't care. It has to be resolved by Selection Sunday, for that matter, because Selection Sunday is also on CBS.
That's right.
Get it figured out. I'm sure they will. I think both parties are not dumb enough to actually have this impact the Thursday of the NCAA tournament. They got a month to figure this out. Figure it out.
Surely not. And then after that, you got the Masters as well? Surely not.
Have to figure it out, man.
I don't think there's any way that they don't figure it out. How long do you think it lasts till? I also got TV shows
my
that
guess
I like
is
on
another.
CBS.
My
Please.
guess is another 10 to 14 days.
See,
at least.
I'd love for it to be like by Sunday because there's some
you
TV
think they
shows.
get it? You
Well,
think
no. I'm just saying selfishly. There are TV shows that I like on CBS. I'm not going to be able to. I got to subscribe to Paramount Plus to watch my FBI's, to watch Tracker. Come on now.
So right now, personally, they can take 3 weeks. I don't care. I just need it back by March Madness. Otherwise,
That's
there's
the big one, of course.
That's all I need. I don't want. I couldn't tell you the last time I watched Comedy Central or MTV, without something that was
it's been a
recorded or
long
something.
time.
I just need CBS without having to use my indoor antenna by Selection Sunday when I find out what the bracket is and when KU and Missouri and maybe K-State fans find out they're in the tournament.
Somebody said they can. You're very kind. Somebody said you can use my account, Drew.
There you go. So the $8 credit thing is that it says only will happen if for an extended period of time if it's unavailable. So like if
It sounds like they want to get it. Like they're
well, I'm sure that both
actively
parties
trying to
how
get it
this
done.
is. Both parties want to get it done. But, the Paramount claims that, it's one-sided contract. And then, of course, YouTube TV knows that if they got to pay more, then guess who they're going to pass it along to? They're going to pass the cost on to us, the consumer. In the meantime, the consumer's out the product. These suck.
Just wait until
They're
people start
ridiculous.
leaving YouTube TV, and then they'll be like, okay, yeah, sure, we'll
That too.
We'll
Pe-
agree.
People are going to be looking up, what is it, Fubu or whatever?
Yeah, Sling.
Fubo,
Yeah.
Fubu, whatever. One's a clothing, one's a streaming.
Fubu is.
One's clothing, one's streaming. I get them confused.
I think it's Fubo.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well,
Fubu
anyways.
is the clothing.
Fubu is the clothing.
Fubo is the streaming app. Anyway, up next, let's talk more about the next decade. If you buy into the theory that some are saying, tell me how you think the next 10 are going. That's next.
This is Cody and Gold on your new home for K-State Athletics. 96.5, The Fan. Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com.
Alex Gold here, once again thinking about the amazing folks at Max Motors. 7 locations throughout Kansas and Missouri. And I'm thinking about them because of this cold weather, right? And I know if you don't have a 4x4 vehicle, that the snowstorms that we still are going to end up having can be a pain. It's hard to navigate, get to your location, your work, your normal routine that you have to deal with. Think about having a brand new 4x4 vehicle. And right now at Max Motors, where they offer the best financing options in the Midwest with the max trade-in values, well, you can get into a new 2024 Ram 2500, which is right now up to $17,000 off MSRP. Stock number BF7880. Or a new 2024 Jeep Compass 4x4, starting at $22,995. Stock number 90144. Must finance with dealer lender. Offer expires 3/3/25. And if you're considering trading in a vehicle, well, Max Motors is the best place to go for that as well, because they have the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car, maxmotors.com.
Jewelry Gram, it's your friends at Shane Company here to remind you that Valentine's Day is Friday, February 14th. It's the most romantic day of the year to give and get fine jewelry. We have expertly crafted gifts for every type of sweetheart. For the one, we'll help you propose with the dream engagement ring. Come see our wide selection of hand-picked natural and lab-grown diamonds in all shapes and sizes. In stock and ready to compare side by side right here in our store. Or maybe you'll fall in love with a natural, colorful gemstone. At Shane Company, we're known for our sapphires in every color of the rainbow. We have options for every style and budget. Get creative and design a custom necklace with meaningful charms, including 14-karat gold letters, engravable hearts, and birthstones. Our mother-of-pearl heart-shaped collection makes a perfect gift that's ready to give. At Shane Company, love is always in the air with our unmatched free lifetime warranty. Everyday competitive prices and no-pressure shopping experience. Come see us in-store and at shaneco.com. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
It starts as a nuisance, and you just put up with it. But then that awful joint pain impacts everything in your life. Walking, climbing stairs, even getting in and out of the car hurts. Hey, it's Bob Fesco. I'm talking about that always there joint pain in your knees, hips, shoulders, and back. But here's the good news. QC Kinetics. Groundbreaking treatments for arthritis pain. Long-term relief is now possible with no downtime. Tens of thousands of QC Kinetics patients would tell you, don't wait, make the call today. These new orthobiologic cellular therapies, including PRP treatments, can revitalize your joints without going under the knife. Look, joint pain doesn't get better with time. So before it's absolutely debilitating, see if you're a candidate for these life-changing regenerative treatments. Call QC Kinetics today for your free consultation. 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. QC Kinetics off 435 in State Line and in Gladstone. 816-412-6299.
If you're 55 and up, T-Mobile has plans built just for you. 2 lines of unlimited for just $30 a line. That's a 45% savings compared to Verizon and AT&T. But don't just take our word for it.
It's not just the savings that are great with our T-Mobile plan. There's all this value from all these other things that T-Mobile offers.
T-Mobile has been such a savings for us.
We love it.
Switch today and get 2 free 5G phones like the Motorola Edge with Turbo Power charging that gives you power for the day in just 15 minutes. And customers 55 and up can get 2 lines of talk, text, and data for only $30 a line. Go to T-Mobile.com/choice55 to learn more. With AutoPay plus taxes and fees, plus $5 per line without AutoPay. Debit or bank account required. 45% off 2 lines versus AT&T Starter and Verizon Welcome. Plan benefits vary. Motorola Edge on us with 24 monthly bill credits and new line for well-qualified customers, plus tax and $35 per line connection charge. See details at T-Mobile.com. Motorola Edge requires 68-watt charger. Charger sold separately. Actual performance will vary based on usage and configuration.
Right now, get up to a $15 gift card after rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to TGL, presented by SoFi, golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer-dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf. Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour, split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
Friday is Valentine's Day, so if you still have shopping to do, then it's time to get to Macy's, because we make finding the perfect gift so easy. How easy? We have last-minute gifts that feel truly thoughtful, like fragrance gift sets from Yves Saint Laurent, Carolina Herrera, and Marc Jacobs, boxed and ready to give. Yeah, it doesn't get much easier than that. So head to Macy's and make their Valentine's Day a little more special and your life a little bit easier. But hurry in, because you're almost out of time. These deals end Friday at Macy's.
Oh, by the way, Ivan's no longer on the project. His wife got a new job, so they're moving across the country.
Robin's top researcher is deviating to a new market. This isn't standard.
And now we're short-staffed. Who's going to finish all these projects?
She needs a cluster of new data analysts, and there's no margin for error.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Put our matching platform to work so you can spend less time searching and more time connecting with talented candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios.
Back here on Cody and Gold, Alex Cole, Drew Nixon with you today. Cody will be back next week. We'll get back into, in the 1 o'clock hour, the rumors out there in Pittsburgh about Trevor Lawrence, and are the Steelers inquiring with the Jags about Trevor Lawrence and a possible trade. Since we last talked about it, there has been multiple reporters calling the idea, according to their sources, ridiculous, that there was no chance of a deal being made between the Jags and Steelers. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Also, Matthew Stafford. That one seems a little more legit of a rumor that's out there. Could Matthew Stafford be on the move, not to Pittsburgh, but to the New York Giants. So it's that time of the year already. It's the offseason. We're in a league year. Doesn't start till next month, but we're going to start seeing more and more reports like that. So that's coming up in just a bit. During the break, I heard it, and I saw it and looked it up. I know you're a golf guy, Drew. So the TGL thing I haven't watched once, and I guess they had 1 million viewers when Tiger Woods was on there. Ratings were up 9% for that.
Yeah.
Is this thing going to last? Like, I know they got the money behind them, Tiger and everything, but TGL, it looks like, from what I can tell without watching, it looks like I'm basically sitting there watching professional golfers just be in a golf simulator. Why am I interested in this? Why should I be interested in this?
I think it's if it were, not that it's ill-timed, but now that we're into golf season now, where we're fully into like the Waste Management Open, the Genesis Invitational, and all these other things, we want to see like them actually play golf more than the simulator stuff. It's something I think that's fun more to pass the time, where if they put this in December, I think more people would watch it, because there is literally no golf going on at all. There's no Dubai, there's no Sony Open as much. There is that during January, but I think it's the professional angle on watching golf in some way, shape, or form in prime time. It's another way to watch golf that's more of a quote-unquote fun way to do it. But I think to your point, there are some people who are turned off by the idea, because it's like you going to it's like you going to X Golf here in KC and watching me play 9 holes on a sim.
Yeah, like, and I get it if you have if you have the right personalities or whatever.
Tiger pulls, of course.
Sure. I guess I don't get it. Like, this would be like if the NFL did the Pro Bowl games every Tuesday night. Like, and to
an extent, yeah.
Like, I mean, no, like, that is an interest. And so, like, this is not an anti-golf thing. I'm just saying, even if the NFL, and I'll watch every crappy Thursday night game, if the NFL did the Pro Bowl games where it was just quarterbacks throwing through hoops or whatever every single Tuesday night in the offseason, I would not watch that either. No. I don't get, this feels like something that's not going to last very long, this TGL thing.
Now, if there was like $1 million on the line, all right.
Maybe.
Now I would argue
I would argue even actual golf, the match, which is another kind of celebrity built up thing that's about mic'd up and is, it's not
as good as it was.
That's also gone down. Like, that's also not as intriguing. I didn't even know the last match happened, the one that they just did a couple months ago.
I do think it would be interesting to see this angle if TGL did this, because right now, of course, it's all pros. The match originally was pro, Charles Barkley, whatever.
Yeah, Mahomes was
now
part
it's
of it.
Guys from different sports, of course, and everything like that. There's a lot of golf YouTubers out there who are a big deal. Good Golf is from here in KC. Their home club is up at Sunflower Hills. They're very, very popular. There's other people who throughout make very popular golf videos. Maybe you include some YouTube celebrities in there.
Paige Sporonic is doing TGL? That'll bump the ratings.
Hell yeah.
Okay, I hear you.
Dusty would be watching. Like, have her and Tiger Woods team up against Mark Crossfield and Ricky Fowler. I don't know. Okay. Like, I think you could find a way for the quote-unquote younger audience, the younger generation, as we always, refer to, be more inclined to watch. Put some YouTubers in there who they might watch instead of just the pros, because it hasn't been that great of a product, this whole time.
Coming up in about 8 minutes, we'll get to the random question of the day. Drew has one. He has told me I don't know what it is. He said,
I thought to myself, I probably need to come up with one here in the next 20 minutes. So I think let me come up with one.
Yes,
I've got one.
I'm glad you have one. We'll learn together what it is coming up in just a bit. Back to the NFL, though. You guys have seen a lot of the discussion, of course, post Super Bowl about Brady and Mahomes, and I don't want to have that exact discussion again. Don't worry. But this weird notion and theory that, like, well, Brady didn't win any for 10 years, so now Mahomes is going to have to wait for 10 years, and we'll see what he does after 40, as if the 30s are going to be nothing for Mahomes, which is laughable, it's stupid, frankly. But I said, well, I'll play along for a second. And this is how challenging it is for me to imagine Mahomes not, going to another Super Bowl in the next decade, and frankly, winning one. I don't know if it happens next year. I don't know if it happens 5 years from now. But I think he's going back to the Super Bowl within the next 10. I think, frankly, in the next 3 or 4, he's back in the Super Bowl. So I said, I'll play along, and I wanted you guys on the text line, 913-586-7965, to go through the exercise as well. And it's not about getting the right quarterback, but it's how do you place the next decade if you don't think Mahomes is winning one? And it's very difficult to imagine and very difficult to map out. So I don't care the order, but I tried to do this, and Drew, you did this as well. Over the next decade, if we take Mahomes and he can't win a ring because that's what I'm told. He can't win a ring for a decade, you know? Doesn't mean he can't go to Super Bowls. Doesn't mean he can't block somebody from winning one, but he can't win one. So the next decade, these were the names and how I divvied it up. Jalen Hurts wins another one. Jaden Daniels gets one. Josh Allen gets 2, and that's only because if you're telling me Mahomes can't get one. So maybe he loses in an AFC title game finally to Josh Allen, this weird hypothetical. Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, Lamar gets one, Purdy gets one, and then I cheated, but there's going to be new quarterbacks in the league, right? So I put over the next decade 2 guys that we don't even know yet, college players, two college players that aren't in the league yet are going to win 2 of them. And I struggle to come up with the next decade of it. I'm like, it just doesn't feel like you're telling me, the next decade he's not winning one. The point is, I don't believe that that's the case. Mahomes is clearly not winning every single one. He didn't win this past year.
Yeah.
But I think it's really difficult to try to establish the next decade and claim that Mahomes is not getting one of those when I went through the names of all these other quarterbacks.
So I actually came up and compiled a list as well in that span.
Okay.
So I think Lamar Jackson gets 2. I think Josh Allen gets 1. I think Joe Burrow gets 2. I think Jalen Hurts gets 2. I think Jaden Daniels gets 1. I think Jordan Love gets 1. And then I think there's a random in there, whether it is a rookie, whether it's a C.J. Stroud has a really good year, whether Jared Goff has another really good season, whether maybe Caleb Williams turns the corner with Ben Johnson and everybody just comes together. It's going to come together for somebody, I think, in that equation where it is a Caleb Williams, it's a Brock Purdy, it's a rookie. Any of the case may be. That's how I line up the next 10 if it's not Mahomes.
I was wondering how many you were going to give your guy, Joe Burrow, in this hypothetical.
I was only going to give him 1, and I was actually going to give 2 to...
I thought about it.
I was going to give 3 to Jalen Hurts, actually. I almost did that.
Yeah, those were the 2. I'm like, if we can't put Mahomes, I thought, man, is Jalen Hurts going to get more? I'm like, if I give him 2, though, then that puts him at... Then I'm saying he's got the same amount of rings as Mahomes, and that just doesn't... Frankly, it just doesn't make sense.
It would be a little bit weird,
you know?
Yes.
Burrow, I almost did. But this is not even just me hating. I truly, Drew, I truly struggle with that organization assembling the full team to get them to win.
I think it's very fair.
And that's my biggest issue. It's not even a Joe Burrow issue.
Very fair.
I think he unfortunately might be Dan Marino in this whole thing. But I did this exercise, it's kind of fun, but also how much I think it's crazy to suggest that Mahomes isn't getting back to one or winning one. And as someone on the text line also points out, Brady had a 10-year drought. He still went to 2 during the 10-year drought.
It's hard to suggest
that
Mahomes
not
making one, at least not making it. It's crazy.
I just don't get that when we've discussed Brady's rings compared to Mahomes' rings and where do they end up in the GOAT conversation when the career is over and all this. Why are people assuming that because Brady went 10 years without it and then he won a couple in his 40s, that's how Mahomes would have to do it? Look, I think it's very unlikely Mahomes wins any in his 40s, but that's not for another 10 years. Why do we, because of one awful performance in the Super Bowl in a three-peat year, why do we now have to act like we didn't just see for the last 7 years what this guy is? The best quarterback in the league. That didn't just change because he lost on Sunday to Philadelphia. It was bad. He owned it. It was really, really bad. That doesn't mean that suddenly he forgot how to play football. What do we do? That stuff has been so ridiculous over the last 4 days. Mainly national commentary. And so doing the 10-year exercise is like trying to prove a little bit of really, you think all these dudes are going to rack up enough? Someone's got to win 10 of them if he's not.
Somebody asked,
someone's got to win one of the 10.
From the 913, who won the 10 when the Patriots did not? Here is that list. Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts, and New York Giants. Pittsburgh Steelers, New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers, New York Giants. Baltimore Ravens, Seattle Seahawks, New England Patriots. So there aren't even as many as you and I put on our list.
There was more multiple.
There's a couple of multiples in the the Giants and the Steelers, 1, 2 each, and then it's kind of selective from there with the Packers and the Saints and the Colts in there.
There's a very fair text we just got, 913-586-7965 from the 913. Someone says, hey, in this hypothetical, don't you think the Patriots fans had the exact same stance trying to imagine Brady not winning one for a decade than he did? I absolutely think he wins 2 more in the next 10 years, but still, that's a fair point. Yeah, I doubt Patriots fans thought he was going for a decade. I would
certainly not. Yeah.
I think that's very, very true. I would say, isn't that why the stance now should be stronger? What I mean by that is people clearly made a mistake in 2012, I think it was, 2014, 2012, to say, oh, Brady's done. And then look what he did. Like, I'm using that as more, it almost makes me more confident why I think Mahomes can do it, because people said Brady was done, and then he still won some. And you're saying, well, that was later in his career. My point being is just that I don't think with Mahomes' skill set and how he's athletically just a better player than Brady was, that he's not going to be able to do it for a decade. Like I actually, the fact that people were so wrong about Brady not winning one ever again after that drought and stuff makes me more confident that Mahomes is not now just not going to ever win one the rest of his career. Like, he's just going to go the rest of his career. And I know the numbers for most quarterbacks would say, well, yeah, he's not winning one. We know by now we are talking about someone that is just different. And before Sunday, like, we should have done this exercise on Friday, honestly, before the Super Bowl. Because not just in Kansas City, ask the same people nationally if we got truth serum and we could go back in time. On Friday, the same people nationally that are now saying he's not going to win one ever again or won't get to one or whatever for a decade. Those same people, do you really think that they would have said that then? We're letting one game, one awful performance now make it seem like he just can't win one? Because on Friday's show, my guess is people would have been like, oh, yeah, like he's going to win this Sunday, and then he's probably going to win one or two more. And now we're acting like he just can't win one? That's foolish.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to just jump to that conclusion now. Is there a chance that it falls off with how the talent in the NFC is getting better at quarterback? And, of course, you got the three guys, the three-headed monster, if you will, that Mahomes has been able to take advantage of and beat almost every single time. It doesn't make it – I felt like when I was coming up with that list, Alex was – and I don't know if you felt the same way – you're almost reaching where it's like,
for sure.
I guess maybe this person, and it doesn't, you're almost forcing it, because it's like, well, if it's not Mahomes, then I guess maybe Jordan Love gets one, and that's actually winning it. That's not even just getting there. I feel like it was a little bit forced, you're almost trying to find somebody where if it's not Mahomes, who is it going to be?
And for this to happen, too, I think it comes with the understanding, as we've discussed the last couple of days, the Chiefs are going to have to not only fill some of the voids, and Chris Jones will not be here for the entire 10-year run that we're talking about. Travis Kelce won't. I don't think Andy will, if we're talking about the whole 10 years. So those will all be key moments in Mahomes' career, and how does that change everything? And it's why, no kidding, it would have been better if he would have just won on Sunday for his total, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
But I just think with the issues they have, do we think they're just now the rest of his career, Patrick Mahomes is just going to have a bad offensive line for 10 straight years? I just don't believe Brett Veach, who clearly has struggled at left tackle in particular, that Brett Veach, the last time they had a terrible performance against the Bucs, they revamped the whole O-line and revamped the roster after Tyreek Hill. They went out and acquired Karlaftis and Trent McDuffie. That suddenly we think they're not smart enough to recognize the issues and not fix those. I just don't buy that they're not going to be able to do that over time.
I do feel like it is the Andy part of the equation is very interesting, because we don't know what Patrick Mahomes looks like without Andy Reid, as we didn't know what Brady looked like without Bill Belichick. Obviously, at this time, Brady had 10 more years. Belichick had 10 more years. Andy Reid, we know, probably isn't going to go 10 more years. So not that there's more pressure in these next 4 or 5 to get something done, but...
Oh, I think there is, yeah. I think that's right.
I think there is some, but also in terms of the overall legacy point of Patrick Mahomes, it'll be fascinating to see, one, who the Chiefs hire to bring, who they bring in as the head coach, and what the success rate is afterwards, where if they keep the train going, all of a sudden, you're talking about Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, sure, he might be 37 or 38, but if he's still cooking and playing well, and they've got another really good head coach on top of it, maybe all of a sudden this, I know we're talking about a 10-year stretch, but it opens the window into potentially winning more over a 12 or 13-year stretch.
Oh, me, I don't know about that. Again, I don't think you can ever count on anything after 40.
I don't think you can count on it, but I'm just saying it's something to think about. If Mahomes is still playing well at 38, 39, and you have another good head coach on top of it, maybe there's another 2 or 3 years of magic.
And
in
he'll
there.
have to adapt too. I mean, his athleticism and everything, of course, as he gets
that's
older,
gonna
will-
change.
like he'll have to. But I've already seen him adapt a few times throughout his career and how he plays. I think he adapted in the middle of this season and how he played. If you look at how he played the first 6 weeks of the season compared to the rest of the year, he was playing at a different level. That's why he didn't turn the ball over very often in post week 11 or whatever it was against Buffalo. But anyway, interesting conversation. Appreciate the input you guys on the text line as well. Someone says that don't forget, Brady also broke his leg and had a lost year in one of those, or tore his ACL or whatever it was, Bernard Pollard. So that is also true. And look, we can't predict health. Knock on wood. We're doing the hypothetical as if Mahomes is healthy for the next 10 years. Knock on wood again, everybody. All right, let's get to the random question of the day.
Random question.
What do you got? What do you got?
For you, Gold, for the text line, 913-586-7965, the J Southland Tow Service text line. So, my parents don't have dogs anymore, unfortunately, but we've lost both of ours this year.
Ooh, that sucks.
But one of the things, the first one very tough was, as we've had her since she was a puppy. The other one, we kind of adopted her, essentially. But they had rules, of course, and you can't get on the couch, can't get on the bed. Theirs was no bed for them. For us, it was like, sure, hop in the bed, it's fine, and we would fall asleep, and the dog would be in the bed. Of course, there's hair all over the sheets and everything, and it's nuts. But what are your rules regarding your pets? Is the couch a no? Is the bed a no? 913-586-7965. I personally, I don't like having hair all over the place, but I don't think you can just limit a dog because, look, I'm a dog person. The dog wants to be loved and cared for. If you're just pushing it off to the side, if you're just pushing him or her off to the side, come on up and hang out. Like, I want you to feel loved. I don't mind the bed or the couch at all getting hair on it. Of course, it's a little bit of a hard thing to clean up, but hey, you got a love for the dog.
You have one, so
this is better for you.
I have a dog. I have a dog, and the shedding stuff is funny because when I got her from animal shelter when she was a year old or whatever, I'm like, how bad is the shedding for this dog? Oh, not too bad. No, she really, oh my goodness. So the shedding still drives me crazy. There's obviously different times of the year where it's worse. Rule wise, so I that was out the window immediately. I screwed up immediately. First night, puppy comes home, cute dog. This was when I was in Wichita. I had just started my job there. And first night, dog just hops on the bed while I was getting ready to go to bed. I hadn't even gotten to bed. So then I'm like, it was over that night. It was over because she was already in the bed that night, Drew. I had a decision to make that night. I could have been mean. I could have said, nope, kennel. Get in the kennel. She would have whined and barked the whole night. And right away, she hopped on the bed, and I was like, how am I gonna say no to this cute dog?
I'm telling you,
so the dog has been allowed to sleep in bed since the beginning of her life, basically. The couch, also, she's allowed on the couch. If I ever have another dog, maybe I'll do it differently and not allow the dog from the very beginning on the bed, but I'm kind of with you, If you're going to have a dog, dog's part of the family, man.
100%. Someone from the 913 said we bought a Wyoming king just so they could sleep with us. I don't know what I know what a California king is. I don't know what a Wyoming king is. I mean,
is that bigger than a California? Why? I mean, is that
also
how that works?
How big is your dog?
Yeah. So I have a queen bed, and my dog is 35 to 30, 35-ish, 38 pounds or whatever. And sometimes, I'll be honest, I feel like I need a bigger bed because there's this huge, here's plenty of space in the lower part of the bed, and she'll make sure she's leaning right up against my leg or whatever, right? That's just what dogs do usually. So
a lot of people are saying no dog in the bed for sure, but couch might be okay.
I probably shouldn't have done that at the beginning, but way past that
Someone
time.
said stop eating the damn cat food. Well, that's not really the question, but hey, I get it.
You don't have a dog right now, do you?
No, 913-586-7965.
Are you getting a dog? Has the wife pushed you? Valentine's Day? There you go.
We both want one. It's just the concept of taking care of it while also being able to afford to take care of it.
Sure.
That is the investment that we have not been able to make or been willing to make quite yet. But we both desire
dogs are the best, man.
For sure.
Dogs are the best.
We both love it. We have, when we were in Pensacola, we fostered a dog actually for a few weeks.
Oh, wow.
That was nice.
Yeah. No, dogs are a lot of work, but they're the best.
Yes.
Dogs can be a lot of work.
And every
but
single
they're the
time
best,
that Wayside Waves comes in here with the puppies, it's like,
We need to do that
this
again.
Is really hard to not.
Maybe that's what we should have
the gun.
Maybe that's what we should have done the day after the Super Bowl. They just said, you know what? We're just bringing in puppies to make everybody feel better. We're just going to bring in basically therapy.
Therapy dogs.
Dog therapy. Yeah.
For the 816, get a lab. My parents had a chocolate lab. That was
so I don't know if dog. Especially look, I live in an apartment. You guys know this. Like if I had a house, I think I would feel differently. In an apartment, the dog I have is as big of a dog as I will have unless I'm in a house. Like so, my dog, 38 pounds, medium-sized dog, perfect.
Yeah.
I don't in an apartment. I think honestly, it's not fair for the dog to have a dog. Like if it's a dog, 70-pound dog while you're in an apartment, I just don't think it's almost fair to the dog. You don't have a yard and all that. So no, I won't have. I don't know if I'll ever have a big dog unless I have a house. And even then, I don't know if I would. I think the dog I have now is probably the biggest I would get.
I don't know if this is the same. I don't think it's the same person that texted in about the Wyoming King. They said, my wife and I have 2 Great Danes that sleep with us in bed. Man, space is not a plenty.
My goodness. Someone says the Wyoming King is just a little bit wider than the...
Okay, so a little bit more space.
California, Alaska, Wyoming. I mean, it was just... Okay.
I didn't know those existed other than the California one.
There's a bunch. Right. There's a bunch out there. All right. Up next, we'll get to the 1 o'clock hour. I want to get back to one of the worst takes we've ever heard. And let's take a little look at the Royals. Spring training is underway. From a betting angle, I want to take a look at the expectations for Kansas City in 2025.
Cody and Gold.
I didn't sleep well. I was drunk.
Brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. 96.5, The Fan.
One of life's greatest mysteries has finally been solved.
Who let the dogs out? Spruce!
It's Spruce, the new hard-working, worry-free weed and grass killer that's safe for use around people and pets. When used as directed, spray the leaves for visible results in just 1 hour and dead weeds in just 1 day. You spray, they play. Weeds die by the next day. Find Spruce wherever weed killers are sold.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why, when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey, it's Rex here with RexBuysKC.com, your local KC home buyer. If you own a property in the Kansas City or surrounding area and want to sell it fast and at a fair price, write this number down, 816-330-6000. I'm a private real estate investor, not some hedge fund or large national chain. My family and I live right here in KC. I can pay cash and close on your timeline, even in as little as 3 days. Here at RexBuysKC.com, we're improving Kansas City one house at a time. I buy inherited houses, vacant houses, foreclosure houses, behind in payment houses, my tenant won't pay the rent houses, and properties that need complete rehabs. Do you own a house that's trashed and needs thousands of dollars in repairs? Great. If you own a house and want to sell it fast, call me at this number, 816-330-6000. That's 816-330-6000, or go to RexBuysKC.com. That's RexBuysKC.com, and I look forward to working with you.
March is almost here, and college basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets, and even who's cutting down the nets. If you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/Alex and get in on the college hoops action before March takes over. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma. where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Have you or a loved one been diagnosed with cancer? You want the most knowledgeable physicians with the latest technology. That's KCPI, the Kansas City Proton Institute. KCPI has a full suite of the most advanced imaging and treatment technology necessary to localize high-intensity proton beams. That's a critical part of maximizing cure rates while minimizing recovery time and long-term side effects. Proton therapy provides patients with the most advanced form of radiation treatments for cancer. It destroys cancer cells with supreme accuracy, reducing the risk of harmful side effects. KCPI has Kansas City's first and only system that uses pencil beam technology, resulting in precision targeting and less radiation to your surrounding healthy tissue. Proton therapy is now available in the comfort of an office at KCPI, making it more efficient and affordable than a hospital. So contact KCPI for the most knowledgeable physicians with the latest technology. Don't wait. Get precision technology with the highest safety measures with KCPI. Online at kcpi.com.
I'm Brian Tedesco, CEO of Blaupunk Americas, the pioneers of the car stereo. Today, we're not just about sound systems. We are revolutionizing the e-bike scene with Blue Dot Bike. Thanks to AmericanEagle.com, our online presence now features a dynamic e-commerce website that showcases the quality and affordability of our foldable e-bikes. And our collegiate e-bikes, just perfect for the college fanatic. These e-bikes offer a new way to experience freedom on two wheels, no matter your age. When we needed a top-notch website to match our cutting-edge e-bikes, we turned to AmericanEagle.com. They made the impossible seem easy, tackling digital challenges like pros. Check out the Blue Dot Bike website to see AmericanEagle.com's amazing work in action. Need the best in website and digital marketing solutions? AmericanEagle.com is your go-to. They've been a game changer for us, and they can be for you too. Visit AmericanEagle.com or call 877-WEB-NOW-1. That's 877-WEB-NOW-1.
Right now, get up to a $15 gift card after rebate when you purchase select Superstart batteries exclusively at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
This is the story of the one who, as a maintenance specialist for a historic high-rise, knows that vintage charm historically needs constant attention. Which is why when it's time to upgrade turn-of-the-century mechanicals, they turn to Grainger. With easy access to 1 million-plus products and the scale to deliver when and where you need them, the right tools and supplies are never far away. So the one can keep that vintage building running like new. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Welcome to TGL presented by SoFi. Golf's newest league, live on ESPN and ESPN Plus. It's 2 hours of hammer dropping, overtime forcing, playoffs on the line golf, Tiger, Rory, and more of the best from the PGA Tour split into 6 teams. Learn more at TGLGolf.com. Tune in every week for TGL matches. Keep up, it's golf.
Wake up with Fesco and Dusty. Weekdays starting at 6 on 96.5 The Fan, KFNC FM and AM, HD1 and HD2 Kansas City, in Odyssey Sports Station.
1 o'clock hour on a Thursday. It's Cody and Gold here on 96.5 The Fan, your home for KC Sports. Alex Gold, Drew Nixon with you. Cody will be back next week. Tomorrow, actually, Bink and Drew be holding things down. I can't make any promises. I can't make any promises of how that's going to play out tomorrow.
As
draft,
Bink said,
draft, NASCAR, draft, Bengals.
We actually. There might be a NASCAR segment in there tomorrow. Just because Bink and I'll...
Whatever works, man.
But yeah, I'm sure there'll be some draft stuff in there where we might actually have the first sounder of 2025.
Wow.
Dare I say that?
The first mock draft sounder could come tomorrow.
Way too early for you and Cody. But,
it is. I got to wait till March.
Never too early for Jay Binkley.
I think I have to wait till March for the mock draft sounder. But you know what?
Never too early for Bink.
That's right. That's exactly right. We'll get back to the Chiefs in, 8 minutes or so, because there was one of the truly bad takes that we've seen in a long, long time that is out there. And in the middle of it, there were some points made that you're like, okay, but the minute you said what you said at the beginning, you lost me. We'll get to that in a second. I want to talk a little Royals baseball. We haven't talked Royals in a little while. Spring training underway. Weather looks beautiful out in Surprise, Arizona. Very, very jealous. I just want to take a broader look at the season and what your guys' expectations are. we will have some time to break down more specific stuff as we get closer and closer to opening day. And I promise you we will. We're going to have Vern join us, of course, throughout spring training and stuff like that too. But from a betting angle, and ties into how you think the Royals should do, will do, expectation, that kind of stuff. And this started because a buddy of mine texted me last night, and I'll give you just the context of it. He texted me, and it was right after Alex Bregman signed with the Red Sox. If you missed the news, Bregman signed a 3-year deal for what was $120 million and multiple opt-outs after each year. And a friend of mine texted me, and let me get the exact quote. Bregman gone. And I said something like, yep, just saw it. His next text, Royals are going to be so bad. Okay, all right. What's bad? What's bad to you?
They didn't lose Alex Bregman.
Yeah. It's like, so okay. I was like, whoa, let's relax here for a second. And we were going through. I'm like, well, what is bad for you? I'm asking you guys the same thing. Like, what is bad? And if you're saying they're because of Alex Bregman not signing here, then I don't know what to tell you. Fortunately, he's not signing in the AL Central. The Royals are spending more money than they did a year ago based on payroll. I told you I would have loved Anthony Santander in Kansas City. Sounds like the Royals were very interested as well. They came up just short. He's now in Toronto. But what is bad for you? What are your expectations? Because last year, you win 86 games. You're tied for second in the division. We all know you're a wild card team. You win a wild card series against the Orioles, and then unfortunately it comes to an end against the Yankees. Huge strides, finally back in the postseason. The excitement with that. Bobby Wood Jr. continued to show he's a superstar. He was runner-up for MVP. This year, he's got the second best odds. Like, I think it's obvious. The next step, the next expectation is not just to make the playoffs, but it's to win the division, right? That's the expectation I have. I think that's the expectation a lot of people have heading in. It's go and win the American League Central. And if you look at a lot of the projections out there, there's 2 or 3 teams all within like a game or two of some of the projections that have them. You know, the Tigers, the Guardians, and the Twins. And Royals, the White Sox, we don't really count. They're going to be terrible again. I don't know if they're going to lose 120, but they might lose 100. So they're not going to be good. So it's really those 4 teams. What is bad? Like, if you're asking, like, hey, what would a bad season be? I think it's like 76 or fewer wins, 77 or fewer wins. That's a bad year. Disappointing year is not winning the division. That's what it's going to be for me. I can just tell you right now. The bar has been raised. They raised the bar. How people judge Q and the team will be different this year than how we judged them a year ago. I think that's fair. But saying they're going to be bad, like what is that? They're bad because they don't win the division? Well, that's not being bad. That's not making the expectation that I have. Bad is suddenly they fall back to in the 70s. They're 70s, they're in the 70 range of wins again, 75 wins. That's bad. So the odds market tells us also a little bit. So the Royals, if you're wondering, are minus 165 to win 80 or more games here in 2025. They're plus 320 to win 90 or more. And they're plus 142 at FanDuel to make the playoffs. That in its own right is telling you where, at least the odds makers view the Royals too. Minus 165 to win 80 or more. They won 86. Like, they're saying it is pretty good odds. Minus 165 for those that don't bet versus plus money. You would have to bet $165 to win 100 if they get over 80 wins. Last year, I can promise you that was not the opening day number. I don't have it in front of me. I think I can find an old tweet. To win 90 or more, which they did not do last year, which maybe you think 90 is what it takes to win the division. Last year, that's what you needed to be right around there to win the division. Well, that's 320. You bet 100, you win 320, plus 142 to make the playoffs. That bet I don't hate, just to make the playoffs at 142. They're also 40 to 1 to win the World Series. That's the 17th best odds. 15 to 1 to win the AL. That's the 10th best odds. They're also 3 to 1 to win the American League Central, the 4th best odds. And that's the thing. They have the 4th best odds, but it's very, very narrow. My concern for them heading into the season is that your pitching staff was incredible. You had 2 All-Stars in Reagans and Lugo. Michael Wacha was honestly maybe their best pitcher in parts of the second half of the season. And it's the injury concern. And I know we can do that in sports for every season, but this team in the rotation was so healthy. Wacha, I think, in Lorenzen later in the year, but Wacha was the only guy that really ended up on the IL, and it was a short stint, thank goodness. I hope I'm way off on this, but that is my number one concern. and it's unique to this year because of how healthy they were a year ago. That is, what happens if one of these guys in the rotation not only come back to the mean a little bit and Lugo regresses just because, but what if all of a sudden one of the guys on the IL for a month? Can they overcome that? Do they? And if you're going to say they can, well, then you're banking on the offense being a lot better. Those are the obvious question marks, I feel like, heading into the 2025 season.
Yeah, I'm almost. We didn't go through this beforehand, but you and I are almost lockstep in terms of what we think is bad and disappointing. Bad, I think, is 75 or less, and if it's disappointing to me, it's just not making the playoffs. I think. I mean, even if they don't win the division and still make it in, I feel like you can still be content with that without saying it's disappointing. But disappointing is not making the playoffs. But of course, the goal is to not only win the division, but to maybe make a run at potentially getting to the ALCS. You know, that would be, you know, the ultimate goal in this situation. But I think you're right. And they had a lot in terms of like luck, I guess, in a way, or fortune. The injury stuff, it didn't really affect them much. So they were fortunate in that regard. What happens here? You'd think that they have more depth, of course, from a pitching perspective. From the batting perspective, you add in Jonathan India. You've got a solid 1 through 4, 1 through 5 that you feel comfortable with. That's, I think, everything that they did last year, we would say was overachieving to a degree where now the expectations, of course, are going to change. But that doesn't mean that we're all of a sudden expecting them to win the World Series. And if they don't make the playoffs, then it's a complete disaster and they got to figure out they need to get rid of Q and everything else like that. It's not. There wasn't that much of a change, I don't think. Now, if they get Santander, maybe the expectations even shift a little bit more where a bad season is, maybe just not making the playoffs, period. Everything changes, I think, from a smaller angle, not one big thing completely changing everybody's expectations where if they don't make the playoffs, then it is a complete disaster and they got to reset everything.
I think it's pretty obvious, though, because of the acknowledgement of the pitching staff, which was unbelievable last year. And whether it's because of injury or just natural slight regression. By the way, regression doesn't mean it has to be like, oh my gosh, you go from what Lugo was to being awful. That's not what I mean when I'm talking about regression for Lugo in particular. But let's say there's some regression. Okay, well, it's hard for me to imagine them winning the division if the offense is not considerably better. And that's where we can get into the conversation deeper as we get closer to the season, which is, well, did they do enough to fix it? Are they just banking on some of the young guys getting better? I think in large part, yes. Jonathan India is a huge part of this equation. Trading away Brady Singer, Jonathan India is an upgrade. There's no doubt. Do they have enough in the outfield? Well, I hope that they're in a position where the pitching, specifically in the first half, are able to be closer to what they were last year than the regression part aspect of it. Because then midseason, that's where you can say, all right, if you find out again that you need more offense midseason, is there an opportunity to go make a move then? And I know that's not what a lot of Royals fans want. They want them to go and sign somebody this offseason right out of the gate. And I understand that. And I think, again, they were very much interested, it sounds like, in Santander and wanting to improve in that particular area.
Somebody from the 573 said bad would be a sub-600 season. To me, I don't – if they miss the playoffs, but let's say they win 83 games and they miss the playoffs.
Okay, so 2 games above 500.
That is not – there is no way that is a disappointing season to me. I don't even think it's a bad season because the last time the Royals –
see, missing the playoffs is disappointing no matter how we –
No. If they miss the playoffs, it's disappointing.
Okay.
But you cannot say that them winning, even if it's 80, let's say they go 80 and 82, that's not a bad season. The last time they went back-to-back seasons winning 80 games was 16 and 17. The team has been, as you've witnessed in Kansas City more than I have, because I haven't been here for that, they have been awful. So if they win 80 games, I don't think there is no way that you can say it's a bad season because of what you've seen since 2017 all the way up until last season, which is they touched 74 one time. Other than that, it was 50 and 60. I don't think you can't say that it can be disappointing while also not being bad. They're two separate things where if they miss the playoffs, it's disappointing, but you can't say that them going back-to-back with 80-plus wins for the first time in almost a decade is at all a bad thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you for the most part on that. I think the expectation, though, for look, everybody can have their own thing, but I don't know how, if you're a Royals fan, your expectation at minimum, some of you have much grander expectation. I would love to sit here and say my expectation is to win the World Series. But I think at minimum the expectation should be to win the division. Well, right now, if I could sign up that they make the playoffs, would I lock that in? Yeah, like if you guarantee me a playoff berth, yeah, I would lock that in. But my expectation is to win the division. Is it going to be tougher? Depends on what you think about everybody else in this division. I think there's in some elements it could look different. I think you have to hope that Vinny, of course, stays healthy for 162, right? That has not happened. And he's talked about that with us. Like, he knows he's got to stay healthy. That's a huge part of it. You can have your issues in the rotation injury-wise. How do you make up if the rotation gets hurt? Offense, and then also, I do think this. The one thing that I don't know how you can deny, the bullpen is going to start this season off so much better positioned. So much better position. And I know bullpen can be something that fluctuates year to year, very much so. But when you see Estevez and Urseg, we all know what he was capable of. The fact that those are two guys that are going to both be in high leverage, and those are only two of the names. There's some other guys that I trust. Mm-hmm. But those are the two big names in that pen. We'll see what Hunter Harvey is. Kind of an unknown. He was hurt clearly and just was not the guy that they thought they were trading for in that moment. He has a chance to show who he is. If it's Harvey, Urseg, and Estevez, that bullpen is so much better where maybe you're not asking quite as much out of your starters. There's a path here where you can say that you don't think the starting pitching will be as good and where they can still be just as good, 86-plus wins as they were a year ago. But this is the fun part. Like almost pre-spring training, basically. It really hadn't even started. It's just getting going. Yeah. To start having a little bit of an outlook and looking ahead. We'll talk more baseball as we get closer and closer. Spring training games will be right here on your home for the Royals, 96.5 The Fan, coming up in just a couple of weeks, I guess, as a matter of fact. The schedule came out yesterday or 2 days ago. We'll have Vern coming on starting here very, very soon as he heads out to spring training, I think next week. Isn't that right? I think he heads out to surprise Arizona. So it's going to be a good time. Start hearing the crack of the bat, all of that kind of stuff. Again. All right, I want to pivot a little bit back to the Chiefs briefly. And the beginning part of this audio is why I can't take the rest seriously, even if I understand what the rest of the audio cut is, and you're going to understand what I mean. Like, you can have bad takes. We all have bad takes. Like I've told you guys, one thing that I think we've all tried to promise is, like, if I say something, I believe it. Like, that's been something that I think is very important. I think you have to be genuine and authentic. And I would hope that comes across on the radio to you guys. So Rob Parker on Fox Sports Radio, which you hear sometimes right here on 96.5 The Fan, was talking about the Chiefs' loss. And while in the middle of this cut, you're going to hear some things you're like, you know what? Makes sense. Yeah, it's stuff that we've talked about on the show. When you start out saying what I'm about to play, you're either a phony or you're moronic. Or just leave that sentence out and your other stuff's not crazy.
Andy Reid should step down as head coach. And you're going to be like, they just went to the Super Bowl 3 times, Andy Reid, blah, 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 blah. This is not a one-game reaction because they lost in the Super Bowl and they got boat raced and it was 40-6. Where were the adjustments? Where was the game plan? I'm not a football coach. Mm-hmm. Guys who are football coaches and question the game plan. No running game to start at all, and then you get behind, you got to pass. This is what he did in Philadelphia all the time, pass happy, always throwing the ball. They got tired of that in Philadelphia. Number two, this fall off the cliff is 2 years in the making. Last year, they won the Super Bowl, so it kind of covered up how bad things were. You remember with the receivers and the struggles and Patrick Mahomes. Here's another year. Andy Reid is supposed to be an offensive genius. Why is Patrick Mahomes struggling so much when you can't figure out a way to get him off and to get him to be not 50 touchdowns and throwing every ball downfield, but way better? Can you admit that Patrick Mahomes hasn't been the same quarterback the last 2 years? Andy Reid is supposed to be that guy, and yet we haven't seen it. It's been a nice run. The last 2 years have been disappointing, regular seasons. Yes, they went to the Super Bowl. Yes, both those times. And yeah, I'm not talking about the last 2 years. And this year, they got embarrassed.
So that was Rob Parker. So the beginning is, of course, just ludicrous. Suggesting that Andy Reid should step down is honestly one of the dumbest things we've played on this show. It really is. One of the dumbest things that we've ever played on this show. Now, in the middle of it, he brought up at least 3 things that I think we've acknowledged. They should have ran the ball more. The game plan was stunk. there were no adjustments. That's all true. That is all true. Mahomes hasn't looked as effective the last 2 years. Also true. Saying, though, that they've been falling off a cliff for 2 years is absolutely ridiculous, though. They won back-to-back championships, and in a three-peat year, they were 4 quarters away from three-peating. So, like, it's hard for me to even, like, focus on the middle stuff when the beginning and the end are so outrageous and idiotic or phony, one of the two, to focus on it. But, yeah, the middle stuff, yes, they have to be able to make those adjustments better. They have to find out how to unlock, the downfield passing game. A lot of that starts with the offensive line. None of this is groundbreaking news. I think we've all seen it. We all saw it throughout the season. We talked about it. But suggesting, the very beginning.
Andy Reid should step down as.
Okay.
When I wish I'd have mixed it down. If you pair that with Andy Reid should step down as head coach of the Chiefs. I know they went to the Super Bowl the last 2 years and they won them, but Andy Reid should. It doesn't equate. It's like they're too. It doesn't make sense. And I you and I both think that, I feel like it's more of the trolling side of things, because I think Rob knew what he was doing. He said, I'm gonna get people to pay attention by saying this, when really the points are the part that I believe. But hey, Andy Reid should do this. I think he knew what he was doing when he said it, and of course, we get to talk about it. But there's no way that he legitimately believes that. I don't think if he's watched the games, Gold, just like the same as we have, just like the same as the listeners have. Everybody in Kansas City, forget the city, everybody in the country, whoever's watched the Chiefs play over the last 3 years knows that comment is not true. And there's no way that he's been watching the NFL the last 3 seasons to say that. There's no way.
It's just
he doesn't believe
it's one of two things. I told you. It's one of two. And my guess is it's just being phony.
It has to be.
I've never met Rob Parker before. I would imagine he's actually probably a smart individual. But it's one of the two. You can either say you're right, you got me, I'm an idiot, or you're not believing anything you're saying. If falling off a cliff for the last 2 years is a 15-2 season this year, and then losing with 4 quarters to go from a three-peat, and then the year before it's a regular season in which it was rough to watch, but they still went 3 games on the road, essentially on the road, 2 divisional round and the AFC title game, and then the Super Bowl, which was still a pro 49ers crowd, so I would argue 3 road games. And won a Super Bowl. If that's falling off a cliff, whew,
then what are the other teams doing? What should happen to Sean McDermott then? Well, how about John Harbaugh? What should happen to John Harbaugh after he ignored what they do best? The entire game plan was awful because he didn't run the football. What should happen to John Harbaugh then? What happens to Sean McDermott then,
crazy.
Rob?
That's just crazy. Anyway, we're done. I will commit. I will not. I promise you for a very long period of time. I can't.
No more Rob Parker.
No more Rob Parker cuts on this show. No more.
All right.
Andy Reid should step down as head coach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Some audio on a much funnier note, although that was pretty funny too. College basketball. Maybe we got all 3 locals on a path to actually find a way to get in the tourney. 2 of them are for sure getting in. One is playing like they should be, and they look like one of the best teams in college basketball right now. That, of course, is Kansas State. So we've been watching some college basketball more, even this week now that the NFL season is over. And there's no doubt, I think, if we're being honest, the SEC is the best college basketball conference this year.
Yes.
It's been the Big 12 for many, many years, and the Big 12 is still very good, but it's been the SEC this year. Nobody would dispute that. But also, sometimes you try to explain how good a conference is or a league is, and then you realize it doesn't make any sense. So Carl Ravitch, who is great, thinking about a big baseball guy, he was doing an SEC game, and he was talking about how good the SEC is.
So think about it. We know how dominant they were in the non-conference season, the SEC. They were 185-23. Since January 4 into Tuesday, the SEC teams are 82-82. It's not as if one team or 2 teams or 3. They're 82-82. Like, there's been no ability to pull away. There's no dominant group of teams.
Yeah, you heard that right. Yeah, if you're wondering and you're in your car, you're like, oh, that's right. He said that nobody's pulling away during conference play, because they're 82 and 82. Now, yes, what you're thinking is correct. Yes, they're in conference play, as in somebody from the SEC is winning every game and somebody's losing, as in they're 500.
Thank you, Carl.
This started, though, you think he saw a graphic is what you said? Because 82 and 8, yes. And guess what? The Big 12, also a 500 league. And the ACC, also a 500 league. That's how this whole thing works.
League, the Summit. Guess what they are? They're also a 500 league.
All these leagues are so competitive. They're all 500 against each other.
Everywhere.
It's crazy how they're all 500 against each other. Yeah.
It is outstanding.
And then I need to see this one. You found this one this morning.
I did.
Archie Miller, who
head coach at Rhode Island,
when he's not sweating through shirts.
Yeah.
He was talking after his team's game.
Difficult. I heard somebody say the other day, like, the SEC is the best league in the country, but in all games they're like 54 and 54. Somebody said that. I don't know if that's even accurate, but do you know how hard it is in every league, to win? It's just hard to win any game.
So now we got coaches citing citing the broadcasters. Somebody needs to inform them. Somebody ran with that. Somebody saw that graphic as a joke, and then now people are running with it as if it's a real thing and not thinking, well, no kidding, they're 500. Yeah. This reminds me of when we had one of our dumbest moments on our show. Last baseball season, Drew, with the above 500 conversation. You remember that?
Yeah.
And how many games the Royals were above 500?
That was a good conversation.
That's what this reminds me of, where it's like, all right, step back for a second, think about it. Does it sound right? Might not make sense.
I will defend myself. We were talking. It ended up being the same, I think, but we were coming from different standpoints. We eventually agreed on it, where I think everybody universally. And Carl Ravitch, by the way, also tried to play this off. Said it was tongue in cheek.
No.
You could tell he was fully bought into that. There was a graphic that did come out that showed the conference standings for everybody, and of course, everybody was 500. Mark Pope, head coach of Kentucky, was asked about it today. Actually, here's what he had to say.
I think it's been a really disappointing start to conference play. I feel like we should, I feel like we're not living up to the expectations. Just being at 500 as a conference.
Yeah, come on now. Everybody's joking around about
Someone
this.
says that Archie clip you pulled was from weeks ago, from 3 weeks ago.
The conversation is still the exact same. I'm sure they were 54 and 54 at some point a few weeks ago.
Mark Pope, at least that cut, at least is finally somebody acknowledging that they know that it's wrong.
I just think that it's hilarious because Carl Ravitch, you could tell, was full on set in that.
No, yeah, he was confident with it.
There's no separation in this league. There's nobody. There are teams that stink and there are teams that are really good. Hence the reason why they're 82 and 82.
Up next, we will get to what's trending, and then I want to talk about, thinking of college sports, one proposal that's out there that I think would actually work and stop something from happening, but has probably got about a 1% chance of happening as well. We'll explain what that is next.
Cody and Gold, brought to you by Heartland Men's Health, the leader in men's sexual health. Thousands of men have been successfully treated for low T, ED, and more, all with discretion and compassion. Make your appointment at heartlandmenshealth.com. Follow the station on Instagram for ticket giveaways and behind-the-scenes content from the show at The Fan 965.
Hey, it's Gold telling you about Max Motors. I was just recently at one of their 7 locations. Between Kansas and Missouri, they've got 7 locations, including one that's just 7 minutes from the Grandview Triangle if you're going 192 miles an hour. That's, of course, the Max Motors Harrisonville location. That's where I got a chance to drive a couple new cars, test drive, and find out exactly what the buying process can be like. They make it so easy. They tell you about the total cost of ownership, not just what your monthly payment's going to be. Max Motors has the best financing options available with the max trade-in values in the Midwest. Max Motors, the easiest place to buy a car. MaxMotors.com.
GiveMeTheVin.com. Our expert buying team knows exotics, luxury cars, classics, diesels, lifted stuff, hot rods, inside and out. We buy them at GiveMeTheVin.com. It's a one-stop shop to get into a pool of absolute experts. Join my YouTube channel, John Clay Wolf. GiveMeTheVin.com. They don't call me America's best car buyer for nothing.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
Listen, you've been making house payments for years, right? And right now your home's value has never been higher, right? That means you're likely sitting on a small fortune in equity. And good for you. That's cash you could use to help secure your retirement, solve all your financial burdens, enable you to travel everything you want. The catch is, you're not ready to move. No problem. You don't have to with TrueHold. Sell and stay leaseback program. It's a genius financial strategy. You sell your home to TrueHold while its value is high. You bank all the equity in cash now, and you can stay as long as you like with an easy, affordable lease. And TrueHold pays property taxes, insurance, and maintenance. TrueHold unlocks your wealth without uprooting your life. Get a TrueHold offer now while your home's value is sky high. Call 1-855-300-9993 or visit TrueHold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out without moving out. TrueHold.com.
March is almost here, and college basketball is reaching its most exciting stretch of the season. Right now, new customers on FanDuel get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 wager wins. That's $150 extra bucks to bet on everything from conference clashes to tournament upsets to even who you think is going to cut down the nets. You guys know I like my Missouri Tigers, and I got a feeling this could be the year that they make a deep run in the tournament. So don't wait anymore. And if you've been waiting to join FanDuel, there's no better time than the present. The app is easy to use, and when you win, you'll get paid instantly. So visit FanDuel.com/KFNZ, use my promo code, and get in on the March basketball action. FanDuel is an official sports betting partner of 96.5 The Fan. 21 and present in Kansas. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is nominal drawable bonus badge, which expires 7 days after restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under agreement Kansas Star Casino, LLC. Gambling problem? Getting help is your best bet. Call 1-800-522-4700. Visit ksgamblinghelp.com.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Gain Super Flings are here to take your laundry to the next level.
Talking about Gain Super Flings. Super-sized laundry packs. These things are huge. Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings laundry packs have 4 times the Oxy cleaning power and 3 times the Febreze freshness versus Gain Original Liquid.
Super fresh, super clean. Gain Super Flings.
Gain Super Flings for next level laundry.
At the UPS Store, we know being a small business owner means holiday time is still go time. Still get those orders shipped time. And still re-up on stamps and supplies time. That's why this upcoming holiday, while others close up shop, we'll be open. And happy to help you keep being unstoppable. Come into your local store today. Most locations are independently owned. Product services, pricing, and hours of operation may vary. See Center for details. The UPS Store. Be unstoppable.
What does it feel like to file with TaxSlayer and get your guaranteed maximum refund? It feels like the last level of a video game, facing off against the final boss who stands between you and your refund.
All your refund has belonged to me.
Using the power of TaxSlayer like a secret power-up he doesn't see coming.
Only the most tax-confident can defeat me.
Throwing your laptop at his video game face and watching him crumble into a giant pile of shiny coin tax refunds.
Oh, not fair. You use TaxSlayer.
Start for free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
This is a story of the one. As a maintenance specialist for University Housing, he knows college students can major in wear and tear. Plus, housing so many students doesn't leave a lot of room to house all the supplies he needs. That's where Grainger comes in. With over 1 million industrial-grade products and fast, dependable delivery, Grainger carries the quality products he needs so he doesn't have to. From a new door hinge to a whole new faucet. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This report is brought to you by CareNow Urgent Care. Find one near you at carenow.com.
CareNow Urgent Care has 15 Kansas City area locations open 7 days a week. From injuries and illnesses to school and sports physicals, CareNow Urgent Care is here to help you feel better fast. Find a location near you at carenow.com and use our convenient web check-in today.
You're listening to 96.5 The Fan from the Mission Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling Studios. What's trending?
What's Trending is presented by Baker University, where graduates earn higher salaries and land jobs faster than any other university in Kansas. Apply today at bakeru.edu. Number one on What's Trending, the Jets have officially informed Aaron Rodgers they are moving on from him. This was kind of expected over the last 2 to 3 days or so. They'll leave behind some dead cap, though. Post June 1 cut, even, it'll still be something that ends up being on the books till 2026 in all likelihood. But Aaron Glenn, the new head coach of the Jets, moving on from Rodgers, starting fresh. I think it was kind of the only decision, in my opinion. Although, who's their quarterback? That's the big question now. Where do they go at QB? Do they go free agent vet? Is there a trade they can pull off? Is there something in the draft we just don't know that's going to happen? The combine maybe sorts some of this stuff out. But the Jets officially moving on from Aaron Rodgers. Think about the excitement around that trade at the time. Got them 5 wins. One was due to injury, 1 year of loss due to injury. But $75 million, 5 wins, used a 3rd-round pick for Devontae Adams, who they don't want anymore. Cost you $11 million for that. Talked him into signing guys like Alan Lazard and others. Talked him into hiring Nathaniel Hackett. Just think about how much control and power they gave him, and it blew up in their face.
Badly. It's not as bad as the Browns or the Broncos, I don't think, but the Broncos recovered. Can the Jets actually get back to that recovery?
Next on What's Trending Major League Baseball news last night, Alex Bregman signing with the Boston Red Sox. 3 years, $120 million. Opt-outs after each year. So there's a chance if he has a really, really good year in Boston, either with Boston or somebody else, he could end up opting out and getting a bigger contract. But that was the last. There's other names out there, don't get me wrong, but that was the biggest name remaining out there in free agency. The rumors were the Detroit Tigers were one of the finalists as well, along with, of course, just going back to the Houston Astros. But that's the biggest name off the board, and now there'll be a little bit of a trickle-down effect for some. I think Nolan Arenado is another one. He turned down, I think, the Astros offer at one point in time. But that would be the only other name to keep in mind, because I'm trying to remember where he ended up. Where did he go out? Yeah, now he's the next. I was gonna say he's the next name to keep an eye on and what could happen. So this comes from Neeson out east. Update on Nolan Arenado after Alex Bregman deal. Yeah, they said after reported conversations with Nolan Arenado, company tacked on another big offseason move by landing Alex Bregman. Not only did the Red Sox add impactful right at they needed, but they did so without issuing the long-term deal Bregman wanted. And it goes on to say that from Buster Olney, Nolan Arenado moves to the forefront in the third base market now that Bregman is off the board. The Yankees have not engaged in conversations with the Cardinals, so we could have a trade. We'll see what happens there. Next up on What's Trending, the Chiefs are expected to hire Matt House as a senior defensive assistant, according to CBS Sports. He was with Kansas City back in 2019 when they won a Super Bowl. Then he took that defensive coordinator gig with the LSU Tigers. Did not go great there defensively. He was with Jacksonville last year, but he is back, reportedly, with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then you mentioned another name, linebacker, right? Coming to join the defensive staff as well, according to CBS. Chris Orr, yes, from Jackson State, reportedly going to join the Chiefs defensive staff. Next up on What's Trending, local college basketball. Missouri took care of Oklahoma last night, 82-58. The Tigers improved to 18-6 on the season. Next up is a contest Saturday at Georgia as the Tigers got back on track after dropping a couple of games as they try to build a resume for their seeding. We know they're in the dance, but how much more can you improve your seed? Latest Lenardi bracketology that I saw a day or two ago had them as a 6 seed, KU as a 4. Obviously, K-State not in the tournament field right now. They got some work to do, but yeah, they could make it really interesting. They're certainly playing like a tournament team, to say the least, one of the best teams in the country. And lastly, on What's Trending, your guy, Daytona.
Chase Briscoe, Daytona 500 pole sitter. Austin Cindric also on the front row. Those are the only 2 positions that are locked. The Daytona duels are tonight, I believe, at 6 o'clock. Back-to-back, they'll do 2 50-lap shootouts, essentially, to set the field of the Daytona 500. There's 9 other drivers that don't have charters, that don't have spots guaranteed, that are vying for 5 spots. So 4 drivers or 4 teams will miss out on NASCAR's biggest race, the Daytona 500.
I feel like, you're obviously way more in tune with this stuff. I have no clue. I know some of the drivers' names. That's
Someone
about
wants, it. Shout out to Cam. He wants you and Cody to join in a NASCAR fantasy league. I feel like you guys
would.
I'm
lose money. I'm going to lose money. I know, like, Bubba Wallace, Ryan Blaney.
There you go.
Jimmy Johnson's retired.
He is racing in the 500.
What?
He's racing in
the 500.
I thought
he was retired.
He does one-offs every now and then.
Okay, see, this is confusing.
He's in the 500, but that's really it.
Tom Brady retires. Tom Brady only plays in the playoffs. So, like, what?
Yeah, NASCAR's a little bit different. But yes.
Let me see if did I say Bubba Wallace? I think I did.
You did.
Oh, boy, I'm running out of names. Hold on.
Cody had a couple in the tweet
Chase
response.
Briscoe, Ryan Blaney.
Yep.
Truex Jr., he's still around?
Truex Jr. is not full-time, but he is doing the same thing as Jimmy Johnson. He's doing a one-off in the 500. He just recently retired or stopped full-time.
Let's see. That might be all I can give you.
This would be a fun game to play.
Yeah, NASCAR driver or not kind of thing.
Holy smokes. Cody said Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is still
NASCAR
racing.
driver or made up? Oh, are both Kyle and Kurt?
Kurt is retired.
But Kyle's still racing.
Yes, Kurt retired because of concussion stuff. Same reason Dale Jr. retired.
Okay. All right.
Concussion problems.
I think I'm done.
I think Cody also said Denny Hamlin, which is also another one. Denny Hamlin.
Is he still driving FedEx?
No, FedEx is off his car.
See this
for the first time in forever.
Oh, I just bad luck here. Okay.
No. I think that the fact that you do remember the sponsors, I think, is maybe even more impressive than the drivers.
I guess that's the whole point of the sponsorship. It works.
Very, very true.
But yeah, now
you
you
need
got
a 96.5 The Fan car.
Somebody made a funny mock-up of one day.
That'd be a hell of a thing.
I just looked at. I'm mad I didn't know some of these. I'm mad at Chase Elliott was.
Chase Elliott, most popular driver.
I should have known Chase Elliott.
Joey Logano, I think you've said before, but not now. You didn't, but you've said his name before.
Mm-hmm.
He recently won the championship last year.
Okay. Yeah, well, I know you're fired up for that tonight.
I'm very excited for that tonight, and then the 500 is at 1:30 on Sunday.
Okay. Someone texted and said it's going to rain. Is that thing going to get moved to the evening?
Yeah, the forecast is, of course, it always goes that way. It feels like it might.
See, that ruins it too.
It might clear by the time we get to a night finish. We'll have to see, but it could end up being a Monday Daytona 500, which is always a little bit disappointing.
During what's trending, I mentioned college basketball. Missouri with the big win, blowout fashion against Oklahoma. They're in the SEC, and one of the athletic directors in the SEC, Alabama's AD, Greg Burns, suggested he's got a fix for this court storming stuff that's going on. And not just court storming, but, of course, whether it's court or field, we've seen instances happen. It's not a new concept, and ultimately it's about keeping people safe and all that. I have no issue with the court storm stuff. You're a college kid. Go storm the court if you feel like it's necessary to do that. But you do have to keep people safe, and so everybody's trying to figure out what can you do. They already have massive fines. You know, Vanderbilt was fined $500,000 when they beat Kentucky. So the fines are huge, but that hasn't stopped the students. Like, the students don't care about the fine. Like, what do you think the 18-year-old undergrad student cares about the university paying out a $500,000 fine? They don't. So that's not really deterring. Greg Byrne, the AD at Alabama, suggesting a forfeit as a fix. He said, quote, if we said that the home team, if they storm the field or the court, they're going to lose the game right then and there. That will stop it. Now, he's not wrong. I think that would absolutely stop it. If you knew as a student, and not just like three idiots that run on the court, I'm talking about like the whole student section. If you said, hey, you're unranked, you beat top 10 Duke on your home building. If you're, let's just use Wake Forest for the sake of this conversation. Wake Forest, Duke's in your building. You knock them off. You storm the court. Well, I know you won by 3. Sorry, it's an L. Duke wins. That would stop you from doing it. Never going to happen, though, right? Like, there's no a forfeit. You know how crazy that is? Some people were saying, well, then wouldn't opposing fans intentionally change shirts and run? Look, if 5 people aren't going to cause it. They're talking about when literally the entire court, when the entire court is covered.
Can you imagine if K-State and Kansas, and shout out to K-State fans, they didn't storm the court, but K-State wins that game.
Mm-hmm.
Or let's say, whatever. Kansas fans are wearing KU shirts up top, but underneath they got like a K-State shirt. All of a sudden, you just see like 50 or 150, whoever. KU fans take off their shirt, just all run on the floor. Ladies and gentlemen, Kansas State has now forfeited the game. KU wins. Oh, everybody goes nuts. So the same people in those K-State shirts would be going nuts.
Yeah, like
that would be stupid. But
I get that they have to continue to find ways because you want to prevent somebody getting trampled and dying. I totally get it. I think we all do. In college basketball, I think they've done a little bit better job recently. Doesn't mean there's never an incident. That's the thing. There could be 10 court storms this year, and 9 of them nobody gets hurt, and the security does a good job roping off the opponents because that's the other issue. You don't want some drunk college student going up to a opponent, right, and get in their face, and then that player reacts, and then you're talking about a big issue. But all it takes is one instance of the 10 in this example of somebody getting trampled or whatever, and then we're having a way more serious conversation about it. So I understand they need to find ways to fix it, And forfeits would, yes, stop it. And if that's what we want, then sure. But like, I don't think there's any way forcing forfeits for court storming is ever happening. That to me is a ludicrous suggestion. It's not a serious proposal. Someone has said they see a lot of corruption with that. Yeah, I just think you could have. I mean, where do you draw the line on that? Like, is it just as simple like when the entire court is filled, it counts as a court storm? Is it if only a certain amount of people? Is there a different degree? I just don't believe you could have that play out. You would have coaches across the country like trying to offer to like buy lunch for everybody in the student section to avoid court storming. At that point, so you don't get a loss, you work that hard all week for an upset win, and then you get the win taken away because your students storm the court. That just seems crazy.
Yeah, something that's completely off the floor that doesn't have anything to do with actually is happening on the floor or happened on the floor. I feel like is a bad way to penalize a school. And I don't know if you. This is the thing: is that schools make so much money too off of these. Games and off the sports and everything. I mean, from a year-to-year basis, you look at like the revenue that teams make. I think the SEC, everybody other than Oklahoma and Texas, because they just moved to the SEC, everybody got paid like $63 million, I think, in terms of the revenue share. So $500,000 in terms of what they're going to make. It is a big deal, but it's not a big enough deal for schools knowing that they'll be able to make enough money on the back end of it. I don't know if you fine them more money, if that does anything. Or if you
see the problem with the fine is now it's putting pressure on these universities like, hey, come up with a plan to prevent it. But the student, as I said, the 18-year-old undergrad student doesn't care that the university is getting fined $500,000. So unless you're going to somehow identify each and every student, which they know which students are at the game, because at least at KU it was loaded on your digital account and they scanned it, they could know who's there. But are they going to then? Who was it? Jay Billis that got in hot water because like a year or two ago he suggested like detaining these kids. Wasn't that what it? Do you guys remember this?
Yes.
And that was
he said to detain them.
That was crazy too. He said detaining them. We're going to arrest 18-year-olds for storming the court. And don't give me the it's technically trespassing crap. This is a different circumstance.
That was a little wild.
That was a real thing, right? Well, didn't he? Wasn't it Jay Billis?
No, you are correct. He said exactly along those lines.
Where was the quote? February of it's last year. Man, time flies.
I don't know, was that soon, but yeah, or that recent.
Yeah. Here it was. ESPN's Jay Billis, February 26th of 2024, suggests fans who storm court should be arrested or cited. He made the argument after Kyle Filipowski at Duke was injured by and Wake Forest. Maybe that's why I used the Wake Forest Duke example. I don't know.
Well, there are examples of that stuff. I just think I don't know if there's a way to just refrain from people. Look. Maybe if there's a rule in place of, hey, you cannot storm the court until the opposing team is off the floor. And if you do storm the court, then you're violating some sort of rule, campus rule, you're kicked out of the stadium, I don't know if... I think detained is a little bit too far, I guess. But in terms of proving the point, it would prove a point, but you just can't do that.
Yeah, so I get it. A few people disagree. Someone says that's why nothing gets done in this country. Every solution is deemed too harsh. Someone else says it's safety, dude. Arrest them. I was I think in the minority on this show, but a lot of the text line agreed when we were talking about the Ohio State Michigan thing, and I was saying how they were handling that situation on the field, and everybody was like upset that they used pepper spray, and I said eventually if there's like assault happening, that is different, right? Like I didn't have a problem with that as much because there was actual assault happening. If somebody's running on the court and they're just jumping up and down and screaming at each other, not fighting. By the way, you're not arresting 1,000 people. So how are you're just going to pluck like 5 of the kids and arrest 5 of them? That's why I don't think that works for the court storming thing as well, because you're going to have 1,000 students run on the court.
I'm going to be honest. I think the way that might actually do this, Dave, it's probably never going to happen.
Okay.
Let's say K-State beats KU, and then they storm the court.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having a home game, you lose a home game next season.
So what, they would play both in Lawrence?
Yep. But
again, I don't know if
both
fans
games in Lawrence. K-State beats if Butler beats Gonzaga like they did way back when. Butler, next time you play, if it's a conference game in particular.
Yeah, what if it's not a conference game though?
A non-conference, I think you just lose a non-conference home game. You lose a home game. Or maybe you just when they make the schedule, maybe you just lose a conference home game in general.
The only people
where you penalize it without forfeit. You cannot forfeit a game.
Yeah,
that's ludicrous.
I don't know what the solution is. I would say it's only the conferences and the conference
you play both games in Lawrence.
The conferences and conference commissioners that are even fining anybody already. So it would have to only be conference games. If KU, bad example because these were two blue bloods, but like KU, North Carolina, and Lawrence, KU was never going to storm the court. But you get what I'm saying. Like that, who's punishing them for that one? There is none. I still wonder, would fans? This is why it's a debate, right? Because some people are saying it's not. Like I'm saying, the forfeit is too harsh and arresting is too harsh. Other people think that's not harsh enough. Like this is why we have this debate and why nobody's come up with a solution for it. But I don't even know if making the home game, like taking a home game away, if that's a deterrent enough. Like I'll once again say the 18-year-old undergrad student at that university, do they care if the next year that the game is not in their building? Like you can say, oh yeah, I'm sure they do. They though, like, do they actually?
Probably not, but I mean, certainly the coaching staff gets pissed. I mean, because right now I don't even think the coaching staff really cares.
Coaching staff.
I don't think the coaching staff even cares unless you're on the team that lost. If you're the team that won, who cares? If you're Jerome Tang and K-State storming the court, who cares? Jerome Tang goes up in the student section anyways, and he's celebrating with him and doing the Wabash.
I saw you up there once doing that too.
I had a K-State football. Yeah, that was very fun.
You were doing the Wabash.
That was exciting. But no, I don't think that if you know that you lose a home game against your, like if you knew that in one season you didn't get to host Kansas on campus, I think Jerome Tang would be a little bit irritated about that. I think Kansas State's AD a little bit more irritated about that in general because they lose money from people coming in. You lose money from ticket sales. You also don't get to host your rival. I think that sort of thing, I think that can be enough to maybe ring the bell a little bit and get people's attention. Now, whether it's enough to change it, because like you said, then all of a sudden we're getting into hey, 20 fans stormed. 150 did. Hey, 2,000 did. I think, judgment call stuff would be also very difficult to have.
I don't know how you do it, but ultimately, what seems simple, but it's not, is can there somehow just be it becomes just a normal thing where everybody has the understanding of,
you would think so.
The game, the game is over. All right, the players are off the court now, and now you can storm.
On.
But that is so. We know that's not the emotion. That's not the.
I know.
It's so anticlimactic that to wait 3 minutes after the storm, because the same athletic director at Alabama that said caused the forfeit said, hey, let's just celebrate in the stands. Let's give it 3 minutes, get the team off the field, and then if they want to come down and celebrate, great. A lot of it is the students want to celebrate with the team, and you can say, well, you can't do that. But that's part of it. It's the emotional reaction. The buzzer hits, the buzzer goes off and people floor versus, all right, we won and let's just wait here for 3 minutes.
Don't worry, boys. You'll be able to see.
I just don't think it's the same. I don't know what the solution is.
Don't worry, guys. Jalen Daniels will hang out at the bar with you afterwards. He's going to be at the party. You get to go see Jalen afterwards. It's fine.
Yeah.
A college student.
Someone says, easy answer, head coach is suspended the next game. Same problem, though. Does the student care necessarily? They should. It's their team, their coach. I don't know if that'll deter the random college kid. Why is the head coach getting punished?
That would be.
He's not encouraging. Oh, the head coach, he won the game. How dare him? How dare him win a big game?
You would see before they even go to shake hands. You'd see the head coach running out on the court, holding their hands up. Do not go anywhere. Someone's had a technical foul to start the game. That's not enough. But I like where that's going. I like that angle of it. Impact the next game that they have.
Perhaps.
Or hey, you spot the team 5 points or whatever. Like you're down by 5 when the game starts. I don't know. That'd be stupid. But I think you have to. It's really hard to penalize the team for something that the team didn't do themselves, and then the students don't care enough because they're college students. Hell, I bet you there are people in the student section of football games and basketball games that do not give a darn about the actual sport itself. They just want to have a good time and hang out with their friends, and everybody's going to the game, so they're going. They don't care about what happens in the next one. So it's hard to actually come up to a really good solution.
That's going to do it for us on a Thursday edition of Cody and Gold. Thanks to Danan Hughes. Thanks to Jay Binkley for calling in. Appreciate Drew co-hosting today with me. I'm out tomorrow, back next week. We'll have the full show after the President's Day holiday as well. Bink's going to be in with you tomorrow, Drew.
Yeah, that'll be
Bink.
That'll be fun.
Bink in Nixon.
Valentine's Day
middays.
takes.
Valentine's Day. Bink's ready for Valentine's Day.
I'm going to have to
can't
make
wait.
a random question about Valentine's Day and just let him go on a rant. I don't know.
Yeah, gotta listen to see
Well,
Bink's
enjoy your
Valentine's.
President's Day, Gold.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Thank you very much. You guys have a good rest of the day. The Drive coming up next.
This is Cody and Gold on